can't just, and I should.
So,
No.
And we have to add Sarah Appleton to the
I
attendance
should be
sheet.
helpful.
No,
Okay,
Yes, section. Yeah, I don't want it too long. Yes, because people.
so we have 1, 2, 3,
We'll do
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 11, 11,
okay, sorry, what did you say about Sarah Appleton?
we have to add her to the attendance sheet.
What's Sarah Ella?
Oh, okay, she's a new member, public member?
She's a public member, yeah.
Okay, all right, I'll put her on for the next one. You could just write her in for this month.
Yeah, no worries.
Unless the county.
Yes. Of course.
Okay. You're good to start.
Yeah, give me 1 second, I'm just gonna, I think there's some people coming. I hear, it's just the EDC.
Sorry.
Hi, guys. Do you know?
Yes.
You're recording, right? Hey, guys.
Yeah, I started the recording.
Sally, we're starting.
Oh, probably.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Waterfront Parks and Environment Committee meeting for Manhattan Community Board 4 for July 2025. MCB4 has a hybrid policy that can be found on our website. Board members are expected to attend meetings in person unless they have a disability and or extraordinary circumstance. Excused members and members of the public will still be able to participate virtually. Members who are joining via Zoom must leave their cameras on. This meeting is being streamed live on our YouTube channel and a transcript is being recorded.
She likes reading that.
Now it's done. It's okay. Necessary evil, I guess. We have the EDC here and we have New York City Parks, the two big items in our agenda, the only two items on our agenda, except for old and new business. But I would like to welcome new members. They're finally here. Come on. We will go around with the new members first and then current members so they know who we are and go ahead, start and tell us a little bit about yourself. Don't just say your name and where you're from. Give us like something
All right.
good. You can sink our teeth in
All
it.
right. Hey, everybody, nice to meet you. My name's Brendan McGrath. I live in Chelsea. I work at Citibank down in Tribeca. I was excited to join this committee because I've got a dog. So I'm interested in the dog parks and what else? The other committee I'm on is businesses, licenses, and that's great. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Jeff Gardner. I'm sorry to want you on the dog, but I have a dog and 2 kids.
So you
Chelsea, they're both middle school kids, so we depend heavily on Parks and Waterfront as part of our family entertainment. So that's totally great.
You're the committee.
I'm also on pieces.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Great. And look who's back. She was a member and now she's back as a public member. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Sarah Appleton, nice to meet you all. As Leslie saying, I was a member a few years back. Returning as a public member, so I did previously serve on this committee as well as transportation, and I'm very thrilled to be back as a public member on this committee. And I live in Chelsea. I've lived in Chelsea for the past 6 years. Grew up uptown, and yeah, outside of this forum, work in urban development, transportation, anything that.
And Matt.
Me, oh,
Yeah.
okay, I'm Matthew Klein. I also live in Chelsea. I also work in Chelsea. I'm the board president of London Terrace Towers, which is in Chelsea. I have 3 older children and 3 grandchildren, all live in the, 2 live on the west side, 1 lives in Brooklyn, but my grandchildren love the parks. And I'm excited to hopefully make them even better than they are now.
And I'll start, we'll go around, we'll do that.
Yeah, sure.
Just so you guys know, I'm Leslie Bogosian Murphy. I am the co-chair of Waterfront Parks and Environment Committee. I also happen to be the first vice chair of the board. I live in Hell's Kitchen, lived there for the past 20, almost 22 years in the same apartment with my husband and my 12-year-old and my dog also. Yeah, and I've been on the community board for this is my 6th year. And I love it. And I love Waterfront Parks and Environment, especially, obviously.
Hi, I'm Martin DeCamp. You should tell Brenda and Kenny that you met me.
Okay, just we just work together.
Brett Brendan is the manager of the towers. I've been on the Waterfront and Parks Committee since Captain John was the chair. It was Waterfront and Parks and not Environment. We did Environment later. And so nice to see you all. Environment is here. It's become a major focus of ours, and we're glad about that.
I'm Sally Greenspan, and I live in Chelsea. And I've been a public member on this committee for, I think, about 4 or 5 years. Where is my term notes? I'm also very involved in our community. I'll get to you later, Brandon, because I'm president of my local block association and was president of CCBA, which is the umbrella group for Chelsea. And that's it. I love this committee. We do a lot of great work with it. We even have a lot of fun with it. It's relevant to all of us. The parks that we live in, the air we breathe, it all comes to this committee.
Roberta.
Yes, hi, Roberta Barnett. I live in Chelsea. I am a member of this committee and our housing committee. I am at the chair of our budget task force on the board and love this committee and all of the varied work that we get to do.
You're also on the executive committee too.
Yes.
Did you say that?
Kind of, yes, second vice chair of the board, serve on the executive committee.
Yeah.
My name is Ella. I'm also on ACES. I live in Chelsea. Used to work in the fashion industry for 25 years, but now I'm going into education. I'm at Hunter Grad School right now. I live in London Terrace and I've got 2 kids. I have a 16-year-old and a 11-year-old. David.
I'm Dave Voloka. I'm also on Chelsea Land Use. I live in Chelsea. I'm an architect. Sorry, no dog.
Katie Savage, I live in Hell's Kitchen. Also on the housing committee. This is my 2nd year on the board. But I was a public member for a little while before that. I have a cat who does enjoy looking out the windows at the environment.
Well, that's good. I just wanted to, that's good that we reintroduce ourselves and especially for the new members, and we want to really welcome the new members. And if you guys have any questions for any of us, really just reach out, like you have a good group around you on this committee, so.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
Okay, so why don't we just get right to our first presentation. Hi, Parks. Can you guys hear me online? I think you're muted. Oh, there you go.
I took a second to unmute. Hi, good
Sorry.
evening.
I guess we have you going, you can do your order, but do you want to do Mathews-Palmer first? And then we can go into DeWitt Clinton?
Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds good. We also, just wanted to mention, Julie Fisher also is here from New York City Parks. She's the design director.
Yeah, can you do me a favor? Can you just raise your volume? We can hardly hear you in the room. I don't know if it's.
Sorry, give me 3 seconds to mute some background noise. Bear with me.
Sure. Julie, can you talk just to see if it's, maybe it's our side?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Liz, can you maximize the windows?
Speaker window you want?
Okay.
No, just maximize the whole application.
All right. I've also adjusted mic a little bit. How's that? Is that a little bit better?
Oh, much better.
Okay. Good.
Should be able to hit that square.
This way, yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna share my screen.
Thank you.
Let's. Apologies, but sometimes technology does not.
She's gonna share the screen.
There we go. Right, no, not. All right, can everyone see the screen?
Yes, thank you.
Amazing. Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Alyssa Gelnick. I'm here from New York City Parks Department, presenting the public restroom building reconstruction for Mathews-Palmer Playground. As mentioned, we also have Julie Fisher from New York City Parks, and we also have folks from the architecture firm WXY. They are the consultant designer on this project. So our goals here are to modify the restrooms so that we comply with ADA requirements, to repair the interior and exterior of the building, and to electrify the building systems and remove the gas service and gas boiler. Many people are probably familiar, but this park is located between West 45th and 46th Streets and between 9th and 10th Avenues. We don't have coastal flood risk. We also don't have stormwater flood risk. The surrounding buildings are mainly residential. We do have a number of surrounding parks around, which can be helpful during construction. The Caffrey Playground in particular also has a public restroom. Here's our existing site plan, just a little bit of orientation. North is oriented to the right of this slide. The public restroom building is closer to the West 45th Street entrance, and there is also an entrance on West 46th Street. There are a number of trees close to the public restroom building, so we are mindful of that as we do this project. Here we have a fence diagram. There's a higher fence along the West 45th Street side and some lower fences in the interior of the park. Couple photos of the existing building. On the left, that's facing West 45th Street. The right photo is north facing, it's facing the interior of the park. And on the left here, we have the men's restroom entrance that's close to the entrance of the park, and then around the building, entrance to the women's restroom. Here are a couple of interior photos. Here we have the existing plan. A quick note about the orientation here. North is towards the bottom of the slide, towards the interior of the park, and the top of the slide is facing West 45th Street. As you can see, the existing public restroom is not ADA accessible. Here we have the existing facades. And here on the proposed plan, we are very importantly making both restrooms ADA accessible. We are also including a baby changing station in each restroom. Here, this is the north facade facing the interior of the park. You'll notice the art panels will be removed because we are bringing the windows back to get light and air. And we also have a year-round water fountain with a bottle filler. That's right next to the door. On the south facade, this is facing West 45th Street. We are installing new exterior lighting for increased security. Here we have the entry to the men's restroom. We have a window replacing lighting. Here on the entry to the women's restroom, very similar, of our standard, lighting, window, park signage. These are our standard parks fixtures, the bottle filler, light. And on the interior as well, all of our parks standard fixtures. And here, just gonna end the presentation on the plan. Julie, did you have any to add?
Sure. I think we'll take any questions, but note that this is we will be looking for a letter for PDC as part of this presentation.
Great. And just before we get to questions, just can you tell us this timeline and the cost?
So yes, we have timeline. We expect to finish the design in spring of 2026. Construction should start a year later. Cost is funded at 2.2 million.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Oh, sorry, that's 2.2.
No, finish the design when?
Oh, sorry.
Finish the design, you said?
Oh, we'll finish the design in spring of 2026, and then construction should start about a year later.
A year later.
Correct.
That is our typical procurement timeline.
So maybe we'll get a new bathroom in 28, I'm guessing, huh? Or the end of 27, maybe. Right, I'm guessing 27. And then what is the cost?
Finish it.
2.2 million,
2.2 million, thanks.
Finish the timeline. You didn't say when the project would be completed.
a year after construction starts, so 2028.
About 2028.
Spring 2028, is that right?
So our typical construction timeline is 18 months. It does depend a little bit on how much utility work we have, but so that would be late in 2028.
Okay, I guess that was short and sweet. We do have a few questions. Do you want that up, Katie?
No, I don't need that.
All right, Katie, go ahead.
So first off, it's profoundly frustrating that this design seems pretty worked out, but you won't have it finalized for a year. It won't be constructed for another year, and that construction might take a year. We've seen entire buildings filled with apartments or offices go up in a shorter timeline than this, or a similar timeline, which is just bizarre. That I know that's not within your control, but it's incredibly frustrating that you can't get a bathroom fixed in a timely manner. Question regarding the art panels that are gonna be removed, will they be relocated within the park?
We don't have plans within this project to relocate them, but we will take them down carefully so that that can be worked out later.
Okay, because I want to note this is a park that had a mural that was quite well known by a well-known artist that ended up being completely removed due to the crumbling facade of the building next door. And now we have lost that piece of public art within the space, and to potentially lose more of these pieces that people in the neighborhoods, families worked on and created. We're talking about generations of Hell's Kitchen residents that can trace their relatives back to those art pieces. So finding a place to relocate them or finding a way to change around the configuration to incorporate them somehow on the facade would be a welcomed thing to have.
Okay, I think we can have a further conversations. We would certainly need. Unfortunately, Steve Simon wasn't able to attend for this portion, but we would need his input in having that conversation. So I think that would be a follow-up.
All right, and my final question is, so currently in front on the park side of the restroom facility is where there are multiple bins for compost drop-off. Will those be able to remain there once that new window is put in, or will those be relocated within the park?
Our expectation is that would not be changed.
Okay, thank you.
Julie, you mentioned that Steve won't be here for this part. Is he coming for the next, is he coming at all tonight, do you know, or?
I believe he is trying, he has another community board meeting right now, but he's hoping to get here for the second half.
Okay, sounds good.
Too many communities.
Thank you. It looks to me like you lost the urinal from the men's room, correct?
That is correct. Unfortunately, in making it accessible, we do lose that fixture.
Yeah, it seems kind of a shame that there will only be 2 fixtures for relieving yourself. Sometimes you see the changing stations incorporated within an accessible toilet stall. Is there any opportunity to do that and introduce another water closet? Or possibly steal space from the mechanical room to allow something like that?
Unfortunately, it is a fairly tight space. We, as a matter of policy, do not put the baby changing station in the AD stall. in our current projects. That's so that people can be changing babies simultaneously. Some people using the toilet stalls, especially when there's only one. And I know it looks like the mechanical room is quite large, but once you meet all of the accessibility requirements to add a fixture back in, it is pretty tight.
How about putting the baby changing station under the window, sort of at the bottom of the plan, to create some more space for an additional stall? There's a lot of maneuvering space in this little building, given the number of fixtures.
Understood. Unfortunately, it is quite tight to fit everything that needs to go into the mechanical room.
Thank you.
That wasn't the
No,
question.
not the mechanical room. I think he said the, right, the cell.
The window.
Yes. I'm just thinking about repositioning the baby
Yeah.
changing station. So it could perhaps go under the windows,
In the men's room.
and also in the women's room, since they're symmetrical. And possibly create an additional stall on each side.
We have studied that, and unfortunately, in order to meet all of the ADA clearances, we don't end up with enough space to get all of the other equipment in the mechanical room, incling having
This
wall
has
space
nothing,
for them.
nothing to do with the mechanical. Even if you
There's no way to add a stall within the existing footprint without compromising the accessibility. But we're happy to look at it again.
I appreciate that.
Anyone else? Go ahead.
I know I'm new, so maybe this is a given, but can I ask why it takes 3 years to do 2 bathrooms? Am I not allowed to ask that? I don't know, it seems like.
Oh, Matt.
It seems like everybody's satisfied. Okay.
I was kidding.
Seems like everybody's very satisfied with 3 years for 2 bathrooms.
No,
so
it's a real question.
It's really unacceptable, I don't get it, I don't get it.
It's bureaucracy.
Well,
Is that what it's tied up to? bureaucracy?
One, I think, us, admittedly, probably none of us being city procurement experts in the room, but many of us, including myself, have designed and have procured things much faster than that. Is there something we can do to help you all advocate for a faster procurement process with whatever other city regulators and procurement rules
You
review?
can go online and buy it from bonus way tomorrow. Wrong.
Yeah, and unfortunately, our procurement rules are set at the state level, and it is a challenge. I hear your frustration. We would be happy for our projects to move faster as well.
I'm
It is
sure you would.
a challenge, and I hear your frustration.
So I heard you were adding lights outside for additional security or safety. I was just curious, in this park, is there already, I think they're called like emergency blue lights, is that what they're called? There's an emergency, somebody can.
Oh, there's definitely nothing like that at this park,
There is.
or any park in Hellsville, to be honest.
I didn't know if that was like a common thing in parks or near buildings like this that were accessible to the public.
So the blue lights are actually an NYPD program. So Parks does not install those. Those are through NYPD.
Okay, got it.
But you could, right?
We'd have to ask NYPD about installing it.
Right, but
Let's
Parks would
ask.
have to, Parks would have to. They would have to work with Parks to.
Yeah. But it would be.
I think if there are further questions about Parks' role in that, I think I would defer to Steve if he's able to join, but it's not something that Parks Capital is able to procure ourselves.
Okay, thanks.
And Leslie, if the changing station deployed and the stall occupied with an adult changing a baby, is the door able to swing open without any, like, somebody having to move away from their baby?
It's tight, and we will continue to study that.
What do you mean continue to study that? Like, yeah.
Shift things.
These are not fully, I know they look very, very well. It's our, if we need to adjust a wall by a little bit more, we can do that. That's what I'm saying. It's tight, but we will, it's a good point. We'll make sure that we have addressed that, but these are very small buildings.
I guess that leaves, does anyone else have any other questions? Oh, Sarah.
Sorry, one final request, Julie, if you could indulge us on procurement for a second. Would you be able to follow up and just send us the state regulation that you have to follow on procurement for this project?
I can talk to Steve about that. I will admit I am not a procurement expert myself, so I can just tell you that our procurement rules are set by state legislation. But I'm not sure I could provide any other details related to that.
Yeah, you don't need to this second, but just if someone from Parks in your team could just follow up and let us know what are the rules that's driving that schedule, it'd be very helpful for us.
Okay.
Matt, did you?
One more.
I'm sorry, Sarah, are you done? Sarah, did you have?
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, you might have discussed it already, but since it's gonna take like 3 years, what are you doing to have a bathroom during that time when this is not working? Like what bathrooms, are you moving in temporary bathroom facilities? Or there'll just be no bathrooms for 2 or so years?
During construction?
Yeah,
Because it's operational now.
so it'll always be operational through construction?
So during construction, the building will be offline. And I think that would be a follow-up with Steve if there is possibility for temporary toilets. That's not typically included in our projects, unfortunately.
But to be clear, the present project, the bathroom is available up until construction starts, and the bathroom will be unavailable for that 1 year.
During construction, yes, the building will be offline.
Can we have some, these are children playing, like I don't, I think they need some facility. I'm sure there are rental facilities or something,
Yeah, those
stalls or something, like, you have to provide their children. What are they supposed to do?
I think you were also pointing to the different parks in the area. What is the nearest parks bathroom?
I'm just gonna go back to that. I think it was. in
So
Catherine.
it is 2 blocks and like an avenue and a half.
I think there's a slide on there.
Yeah.
Bear with me for
Let's
1
change it
second.
close.
I'm just gonna,
Or 2, by the time you get there.
oops, sorry about that. Just wanted to jump here. The cafe, so,
What do they have?
right,
So,
to the ninth and down 2 blocks.
Again, that's typically something that we would need Steve's input on.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you, excited.
And we'll certainly, make sure he's aware of that request.
So I don't know if you guys are aware, so this is a playground or a bathroom that Uber drivers and cab drivers use pretty regularly. This is like their one stop in Hell's Kitchen, I don't know why, I mean, there are others.
Well,
but-
because there's a taxi company on 45th.
Yeah, so this is what they use every day. I mean, there's a lot of, I would say, a lot of men who are Uber drivers, I mean, not all, but a lot. So I think to Matt's point about a temporary toilet, I mean, this is what they use all day, every day, pretty much. I don't know if you guys are aware of that, but this is like their stuff. In fact, even in one of your pictures, I think there were, or maybe on Google, there were like cabs in front, because they just line up and use the bathroom. For their stuff. So, I just don't know what's gonna happen, yeah, if they're gonna relieve themselves, I don't know what would happen, not that they would, I'm not saying they would, but maybe we can just keep in mind. Also, can you just give me a little bit of is this in full, maybe I couldn't hear it earlier, what's the demo? It's not full demo, right? You're keeping the footprint?
So we're keeping, I'm just gonna go here. We're keeping the footprint. We're gonna be, doing some repairs, there's damaged brick on the outside. And really the work is interior.
So it's just
We're not expanding, like, we're not expanding the footprint, we're keeping the footprint the same, making the bathrooms accessible.
Right, if it's 2.2 million, can we expand the footprint a little bit? There is room there, for sure.
It's,
For David's
Unfortunately, I know that 2.2 million sounds like a lot, but we're not
It is
able
a lot.
to do an addition to this building.
Did you say you could move one of the interior walls a little bit?
We can adjust it slightly if we, when we get to construction drawings, if we realize that we need a little bit more space at the baby changing, we can nudge the wall a little bit. But there is a lot of equipment in that mechanical room that we need to preserve.
And that little bit is like a matter of a few inches.
Yeah.
So that is, as you guys know, it's right, if you can bring up the picture of the south side of it, is there gonna be is that entrance gonna be okay, or any conflict with that entrance during demo or during, cause that's the main entrance.
So during construction, the main entrance to the park is going to have to be on West 46th Street because we need to be able to give the contractor easy access to the park, but we will limit the area as much as possible that's impacted.
I have one last question.
Wait, so I'm sorry, West 46th Street is gonna be the main is gonna
During construction, yeah, I mean, it's because this park has two entrances.
Yeah.
It is possible to use the bulk of the playground and park during construction.
So I'm guessing that I mean, I'm pointing to it, no one can see, obviously, but that 40 where the red arrow is, that could be closed for a while, right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So I'm guessing, I'm just saying, just anticipating maybe the cab drivers, the Uber guys are gonna go to West 46 and just keep walking through the park, but maybe, I mean, no, they wouldn't because there's no bathroom. But they would probably be doing it. Okay, do we have any, and this is kind of, I don't wanna say it's frivolous, not necessarily, but I may be ahead of myself. Is there any plans for the interior design and color? Maybe make it a little more gleeful for a playground?
So because of our maintenance concerns, we do keep the interior palette pretty consistent. It will be, much brighter, cleaner, bringing in the windows back. Typically we do a white tile. It will look dramatically different than it does today.
Okay, thank you. Kate, I think you said, no, you had a question.
No,
No, sure?
yeah.
Okay.
I have one.
Yeah.
You quickly went over the installation of lights. This is an issue that we raise a lot in this committee. Those I assume are going to be solar powered.
The lights on the building?
Yep.
No, those will be hardwired.
That seems wrong.
I'm not sure with the
seems like
cover that.
You haven't been listening to the kinds of yelling and screaming that we've been doing in this committee about getting solar lights. You had an opportunity to be a demonstration project about using solar. We've been told that lights inside a park is the responsibility of the Department of Transportation, and they haven't moved towards solar yet. We've been told that there are serious problems with having standing solar lights for interior park lighting, but we have not been told that using solar for a building is out of the question. And we have seen some use of solar even in our district. The park at the west end of 23rd Street has solar on it, has solar collectors. I don't understand why you don't even consider and design into this project solar lighting for the outside of this building.
So I think this is a helpful slide to look at because there is pretty heavy tree cover on the building. Due to maintenance concerns, we do specify the same lights on our public restroom buildings throughout the city for ease of replacement. I'm happy to look into solar lights further, but this is our standard.
I know you're giving the answer that you've got to give, and that you need to rely on doing the standard. This is a moment that we're asking you to consider not doing the standard.
We will review.
Thank you.
Are those lights on, Julie, 24/7?
I believe that they're typically on a time clock, but I'll be honest and say I'm not sure. That is standardized throughout, and that would be finalized in design. So I don't know.
Thank you, David.
Yeah, just to go back to the fixture count again, I didn't realize that the men's room was used largely by cab drivers and Uber drivers. A urinal wouldn't take up a lot of space and would help a lot in that regard. So I ask you especially to look at doing that.
We will take a look.
Thank you. And thank you for taking our grilling.
That was not bad.
We're happy to hear your concerns.
Okay, I guess we can move on with it. We can talk about our letters at the end of.
Well, why don't we just get rid of this? Because this is going to be a letter approving with concerns.
Sure.
Questions?
And
Oh, yeah. And this, Janine?
Yeah, there's no hands in the public.
Thank you.
so this is gonna be a letter with concerns, and we just listed the concerns. I don't think it's a complicated letter. We're very glad that restroom is gonna be renovated. It's an important thing for our community. And in your design, you have a bunch of things to consider, and we'll put that in the letter.
And this is ultimately a letter of support to the Public Design Commission, so we are supporting the project as a.
We support the project with
With,
concerns.
and we will say.
So we should ask, is there anybody that objects or has a reason not to vote in favor? Present not
We
eligible.
need to make a motion first.
Yeah,
Oh,
yes.
Motion for such letter.
Cuando el helado.
I'm sorry, Janine?
We just heard a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We got a second.
And what is the motion?
The motion is
To write a letter in support, naming, some of our concerns and hoping in the process they can look into them.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Present not eligible, abstaining? Excellent.
unanimous.
Okay, great.
Thank you, everybody.
Let's go to the next
you.
part, of course. Let's go to the next part agenda item, which is the DeWitt Clinton Park, or partial DeWitt Clinton Park renovation. I was actually at the public meeting. You guys had a public meeting on this. Where you were trying to get feedback just from the general public. And I wrote a lot of notes from that public meeting, so I thank you for doing that, you guys, and I just thought maybe you can kind of mimic that meeting here for this committee. So take it away.
Okay. Thanks for inviting us to this meeting. My name is Whitney Talcott. I am a professional landscape architect with the Manhattan team at the Olmsted Center. Here with me is the design leader of the Manhattan team, Rachel Kramer, and Deputy Design Director Nicholas Greffenstedt. So we're here to talk about the DeWitt Clinton Park and to receive input from the community, from your committee on selected reconstruction projects that we've got identified here at the park. So let's see here to get me going. So here's a nearby playground that we reconstructed a few years ago. We were able to make some wonderful additions to the play values of Ramon Aponte. So we're hopeful that we can do the same thing for DeWitt Clinton, and rationalize some of the areas and redesign and improve. DeWitt Clinton, in a nutshell, is on the west side of Manhattan, and in the Hell's Kitchen area, and it's a big green space where in the middle of the city here. It's high enough so that we don't have any flooding issues for from the water in the Hudson. And stormwater flooding is evident around on 52nd Street, but it's not a serious. It's a nuisance flooding basically, and also on the highway. But we don't get flooding in the park. So in the neighborhood, you can see that it's the only. I mean, it's the biggest park in the neighborhood, and it's the only one with some good ball fields. And this ball field is very well used on DeWitt Clinton. It's also around a whole lot of other really unique parks, the Riverside, and the Intrepid, and it's a very interesting part of the city, and a little bit off to the left of Central Park as well. The area that we're really taking a look at is this area that's this dotted line, which is about 1.1 acres. The entire park is almost 6 acres, 5.85 acres, I believe. And this area is mostly paved, with some trees, and the pavement is in poor condition. The little red line is around the public restroom, which we are not doing this time. This project does not include the public restroom, although I know it needs it. But we're doing the basketball courts, the pickleball courts, the handball courts, the spray shower, and all the pavement around the storage areas, and tried to upgrade that. Here we have a little bit more of a granular plan that shows what we're doing here. Public restroom not included, the flagpole, spray shower, pickleball courts, etc. When we do design parks and redesign parks, we go with a number of ideas. We try to create comfortable, safe spaces and provide shade, make the site accessible and inclusive, and create fun and engaging spaces. So we're all familiar with heat mitigation and shade, and the value of shade in the last few weeks. So this park has quite a lot of shade, actually, and what we would like to do is to try to maintain that and maybe make it a little more interesting by putting some more green spaces in. The value of green spaces is also really good. So we're planning to create some more green spaces, not as vast as this one, but we can do some more work and create a little bit less pavement. And when we do that, we like to manage stormwater in our green areas. And because of the size of this project, we're going to have to do what they call a SWIP, which is it's a fancy word for managing stormwater by including rain gardens and natural infiltration basins in our plans. And so we're designing the park to manage its own runoff, so it will not adversely influence the stormwater off the park site. And we're required to do this because of the size of the park, and it's a good idea. And we're going to be working closely with engineers to work the strategy out for that. We like to preserve trees. We want accessible design. We want security lighting, and we've heard the concern for lighting at the community input meeting. We like to design for ease of maintenance, so it doesn't take an army of people to maintain the park. Seating for views, we're going to be looking at gathering spaces, adult fitness. That was brought up, and it'd be a good fit here. Multi-purpose play areas, which can make our space as valuable as it can be. So here we have the existing spray shower. It's been a while since it was done. I don't know how many years, maybe 10 or 15 years. I think we can do better. And the idea is to organize the space because it's right in the middle of the flow area of pedestrians and things. We can do a lot of good things with this. We have more tools to work with now since the last one was designed. Yeah, those hoops are interesting. Ground spray types are good for little kids, and we have tall sprays. So we're going to be designing a new spray shower area. Here's a passageway along the back of the fields. We can see the flagpole there. And I think that flagpole may come down. It'll allow us to do some more work with the spaces better. Here, picnic and seating areas under the trees here. These are kind of an afterthought, and maybe we can do a little bit better creating a dedicated space for that. Going over towards the handball courts, there's a basketball court, a basketball goal that has really very little use. I think that might be a candidate for removal. We have storage containers.
What were you saying would be a candidate for removal?
This basketball goal.
You mean the basketball hoop?
The
So
hoop.
you would remove replace it or just get rid of the basketball court?
I think we would get rid of the. It's not a whole court. It's just a goal sitting there.
Well, so that's not related to the existing full courts, is what you're saying.
Correct.
This is on the other side of the now pickle.
Yeah, the
Okay.
pickle. If you look, turn around and look. You're in the middle of a pickle. I'm looking from the middle of the pickleball court actually right now.
Which I guess used to be half court basketball. Before.
Yeah, it's not really used. That's as what we were told. We have storage containers on top of the tree roots. Our landscape construction people do not like that at all. I think we can find some other areas to put those containers and make a better use of the space. Here's some more a mulch pile in the middle of the circulation space. We have the basketball courts, which are in need of repair. New color seal coat, new pavements. We plan on redoing these. We also plan on trying to rationalize the amount of pavement in this area. You can see this line of trees over there on the way over towards the handball courts. Those are all in individual tree pits, and we may be able to create a continuous tree pit there. Give the roots a little bit more room to grow, make the trees feel better there. We can try to do that in several places, and that might be a way we can get some water back into the ground. Here's a little storage area in back of the handball courts. I think if we can figure out a way to put the storage in one space, we maybe get some better use out of our areas instead of having a storage in various areas. So we're going to take a look at all of that. Here's a shot of the pickleball, and I think you can, if you can squint, you can see the basketball goal over there, past that bench. These pickleball courts are not really being used because of the bad pavement. We're going to be doing some work on the trees. Trees need to be clipped up and managed by the arborists. We're meeting next week out there to on Wednesday to take a look at all the trees, to write all their conditions down, and to draw up a plan to manage the trees. And I was really captivated by this little spot here that was constructed largely by one person, and it's sort of a little fantasy and great little spot on the north side on 54th Street there that is just a very nice home built addition to the park and a private space. So looking at what happens when we are doing this, we're right at the first box there. The timeline is project initiation is 1 to 2 months, and we are in the project initiation to begin our design phase, which is 10 to 15 months. And the reason, usually it was 12 months, but we are we're going to have to do a SWIP, which is engineering study for the water systems or the water that's flowing off of this park. And so we're going to have to understand that and see and design some mitigation. Then we have the bidding and award for 9 to 12 months and construction for 12 months. So we have a little over 3 years. And I know that's frustrating, but that's happened. That's the way it happens, unfortunately. Now I invite you to make any comments that you'd like about what we're looking at, and ask for anything more. Let's see, we have a plan here that we can look at. We have our community engagement coordinator who is interested in receiving any of your comments. And here we have what we gleaned from the last meeting, from the community meeting, which we can discuss. If you'd like, I could read it. We're talking about the spray shower, the sports courts, planting, seating, adult fitness, safety. Comments? Would you like me to read that?
You know what? Thank you very much. I mean, I can go over some of that since I was at the meeting, I was taking notes, and then you can just, I guess you guys have taken the feedback from the public meeting, right? And kind of synthesize it a little bit internally. And maybe you can just give us some feedback on the feedback, I guess, but I know there were additional comments, and the reason why I want to say that first before going to the committee is because of just what some of the public said, and I'm just curious what your feedback was, so when the committee then talks about what they think, they'll already have some frame of reference that it was mentioned and what you guys, a viewpoint that you have on it. So, I know there was concern that there's a lot of smoking and adults back in the basketball area and the children's playground areas right now. Only because that area is a little darker, because the fields are so lit, and obviously we're talking dusk and at night, and those fields are used till sometimes, I think, like 11 p.m., like very, very late. So I know there was some concern that as it gets to be dark in the back there, when I say the back, I'm talking about the westernmost part of the park. A lot of older people, not children, but adults would go back there into the children play area and smoke, whether it's just regular cigarettes or weed or whatever. And then I think we were talking about that maybe this redesign will kind of lend itself to fix that anyway, naturally, with more lighting. So we were talking about the need, the desperate need for more lighting back there. More green, less pavement. You mentioned, Whitney, I believe you even showed a picture of, I think it was the northwestern portion of it in between the handball court and the main field, like that little corner there. Where there's a
Yes.
lot, maybe I think there's mulch there now, but it's just a big pavement. If, you know, if we could incorporate more green, and I know you're trying to separate basketball courts from pickleball courts, from handball courts, maybe if we just have slivers of green there, I think that was also mentioned. I don't know, what do you guys think? Did you take that back, or can that be incorporated?
Yeah, we need to figure out where the storage is gonna go, because we can't have those containers sitting on the tree roots. So we have to rationalize what kind of storage, how much we need, and where it can go, so that it's not where it is now. And we also have those snow plows in the back there, and the mulch. And so those are three different areas that there's storage and maintenance and operations. And I don't think we need to have three different areas where people are going in and accessing storage materials and utilities. So that's going to be something that we're going to take a look at. Absolutely.
I'm guessing to consolidate, right? And so it's maybe just one area that you got. I mean, you saw the storage containers, they look like, I mean, you know, is there a way we can get like nice sheds, or at least something that's a little more aesthetic?
I hope so. We'll have to take a look at that and see how it fits into the whole scheme of things.
So if I can just interject, there's also something to note that DeWitt Clinton plays a huge role as a regional hub for maintenance as a park. So that storage, everything you're seeing, you know, also serves a lot of the neighboring parks too.
So if that is the case, I guess it would naturally lend itself to, you have like a designated area just for that. So like you said, you don't want the three areas, but you want a designated area. So people
You consolidate it, yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Also, I think there was during the public meeting, a bunch of the parents were saying that they wanted the spray shower area to be gated off. Like its own, like the playground is gated, so the kids can't run in or out on their own. I know that was a very important point, which I thought was a really good point, and that there would be benches around the spray shower, so parents or caretakers could sit and while the kids go through. Did you bring that back, or have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that was a really good idea, actually. And those areas, that area where the spray shower, the flagpole, and the seating area, I think it's really begging for some better organization. They did ask for maybe try to include it into the playground area next door, or push it or connect it in a better way. We can try to do that. That may be a possibility. We haven't really looked at that yet and with a design sense, but that's something that we're going to be looking at.
Okay, and I know there are no plans to take down the handball courts, correct?
Correct. I mean,
Okay.
it was well spoken for by the handball community.
Yeah.
And in
Okay.
fact, they didn't even want any pickleball courts to be coexisting with the handball.
And I believe one person mentioned that if you reposition the pickleball courts or the lines, you can actually fit a third one there. I don't know if you did those dimensions or if that was a viable.
Yeah, no, we would definitely look at that, because, if those pickleball courts are, attractive enough, the people will play it there, so uh, I'm sure that there will be people to fill all 3 courts. If we have to slide some of those courts back towards the river a little bit.
Yeah. And I think it was also, it was mentioned that right now there's the trees, there's serve as obstructions to playing pickleball, and if you just reposition those pickleball courts,
Right.
they would be, right, I think.
I think some of the maintenance of the tree might help also.
Okay, sounds good. And a lot of things I'm just reiterating here from the public meeting is our committee hasn't heard it, and also I just want to go for the record for our letter. And see what the committee thinks about these points that were mentioned in the public meeting. More picnic tables. Was one of them. Water bottle filler station, can that be added?
Say that again?
A water bottle filler station?
Oh, yes, absolutely. That is,
Okay.
now that's very important these days.
I think that the adorable garden that you highlighted at the end there.
Mhm.
I think there's no gate in the north, you can
That-
only get to it on one side. Is there a way to get it, there's an
There
in
was
and out?
yeah, he asked for a gate in the back, and
Yes.
we'll have to go cross country and get down there and see if that's possible to accommodate that.
Okay, sounds good, and I think there was some thought of having low fencing in between the pickleball courts and the basketball courts.
Yes, that's important because, then we don't have balls bouncing into the pickleball or vice versa.
Is there any way we can beautify that, meaning, can we have plantings or some sort of greenery so it's just not straight metal fences? Just as a design, not necessarily as a space thing, but as an aesthetic, if you could think about that.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
Yep, it's pretty shady in some of that area, and we will try to put as much greenery in there as possible.
Okay, yeah, because I think there were, and someone, I don't know, someone mentioned separate access points that have been forced to prevent conflicting foot traffic. I don't know if you could do that, but that would be, so someone, if they're coming from one side, they're not crossing the pickleball court to get to the basketball court, who's not crossing to get to the handball court, that type of thing.
Yeah, we'll do a circulation study on that and see if we can squeeze some passageways through there.
Okay, and my last thing is, and I know there are going to be some comments to the committee, is I just want to mention something that you said there was an ask for the adult fitness. I know there was no ask for adult fitness on the meeting I was at. A woman did ask if there could be a stationary bike, maybe. I think that was an ask, and I think Steve said that probably they couldn't do that for a number of reasons. But I don't know if this, considering the space and where it is, I don't know if this would lend itself to adult fitness, especially if you have to find now storage space. But where were you, I know you showed a slide, was there a space you were thinking about, maybe?
Well, we thought that maybe where the snowplows are now, that could be a good spot for some adult fitness.
Where will the snowplows go?
Well, I mean, we haven't designed it yet. I mean, is that the best place for the snowplows? In order to get those snowplows out, you have to drive across the courts to put the snowplows on. Maybe there's a better place where you can accommodate the activities of putting the snowplows on the snowplows or on the trucks, so that you don't have to travel all over the park to get there.
I mean, that's part of the thinking about where the storage area, consolidated storage area is gonna be. Is that correct?
Say that again?
That's part of the thinking about where the consolidated storage area is going to be.
Yes, absolutely. That's actually, it turned into a major part of our job here now, is to figure out how the M&O can work and have the play areas work together.
Thank you, Whitney. I'm gonna, open up to the committee if anyone has any comments or suggestions or ideas about everything. Go ahead.
Could you back up to the slide that outlines the project zone? Just for reference, please. Thank
This
you.
one?
At the existing site. Or.
Yeah, this one?
Yeah, that's the existing site.
Okay. So I'm just curious. Within that red boundary, will that be completely off limits once construction starts? And because if so, what have you thought about with regards to pedestrians accessing the parks from multiple directions? Because that's gonna butt up right against the baseball field fence.
I mean, there may be ways in which we can phase this and also not cut off. I mean, you have the staircases there. And you don't necessarily want to cut that off from access. So, I mean, we'll take a look at it. The contractor also would, his approach to phasing the project, he's not going to do the whole thing at once. The public restroom probably needs to have access most of the time as well. So that we're going to have to study how we can do this without interfering too much with what's going on in the other parts of the park.
Thank you. I see in the legend the drinking fountain, but I don't see it on the map.
Yeah. I don't either. Oh.
I didn't know those.
We do need a drinking fountain. I mean, currently when they fix the public restroom buildings, they're usually putting fountains on the public restrooms, but I think we do need one with a bottle filler. There are drinking fountains on the field. In fact, in all the dugout areas, there are drinking fountains. So, but we need some here in the playground area. So, we'll figure out a good place to put at least one.
Thanks.
Anyone else? No one wants to design this. Design the park,
So I have a comment if nobody else is going to speak. I'm actually excited to be part of such a long process of park design, and thank you for bringing this early phase to us. You and your department have heard us talk about things like solar, which you didn't talk about in your presentation, but we've also talked about groundwater capture, and you did talk about that. You showed examples of that, and I'm really eager to see how that progresses and where you place it. If you can finish this project by saying that rain events of 2 inches or less will all be contained within the park, that would be a real coup. And we hope you'll be able to report that to us as you go through this design. And so I'm looking forward to seeing this thing develop as it will incrementally. There's a lot to be said about the various pieces. For instance, I don't care that the flagpole is going. That doesn't bother me. If you can find a better use for that space as opposed to something that's just stationary, kudos, that would be a good thing to do. Anyway, I'm just venting about my delight to see this early part of the project be thought about, and I'm looking forward to being able to critique it as it develops.
Great. Well, we are looking forward to your critique.
Thank you.
One thing I do want to point out, you did mention solar, and the solar and trees are a little bit at odds with each other. We'd love to do some solar here if we could. We don't currently have an approved solar light that parks can install. We're working on it, and that it's in our genetics to try to make that sort of thing happen. And we will when we can.
The top of the restroom looks like an obvious place for some collectors. I'm just looking at that image that you put up.
Mhm. Well, that will be a topic for whenever that restroom gets redone.
I'm just saying that maybe it should be, at least in this early phase, part of the design, so that when the restroom is redesigned and redone, that it will be ready to provide the power for the installations that you're doing in this section of the park.
Even the top of the dugouts too.
Yeah, well, I have to talk to the powers that be about that.
One of the issues is that we can't touch the restroom building as part of this project. So, but we can definitely make that recommendation for any future project for the upgrade to the restroom building.
It's not just that, it's that when you design this part of the park, if you design it in such a way that you'll be able to receive whatever power you put up on top of the restroom in a future date, that will be unified planning as opposed to incremental planning. What am I? I'm just an economist. I don't do architecture. He does.
Thank you.
Okay. So just as I had kind of mentioned in the previous presentation, a lot of these park spaces within Hell's Kitchen are very sacred within the generations that have lived here for, 50, 60 years. When the spray shower area is updated, what will happen with those frogs that are currently there? And is there a way to incorporate them in some other fashion into the redesigned space?
It might be possible.
Okay.
It might be possible. I designed a retired animal area in Flushing Meadow Park that the old concrete animals are now residing in which people go and visit. Sometimes they will find more additions to that, but yeah, I understand that people are many generations have played on those frogs, so maybe we can work with that.
Thank you.
You can put them over there, was it Queens, and just put a little sign, these came from Hell's Kitchen. Something like that.
Hell's Kitchen, Hell's Kitchen.
I didn't even know they had that there.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Just one quick comment for you on the storage aspect. I don't know if it's too naive to think you can expand the project boundary a little bit. But on the north boundary of the main baseball field, there's a transition area that is also concrete, that is almost never used. Where the field sets back.
Right here.
Yeah, exactly. And if this is also a regional hub for other parks, it might make sense to try and relocate storage in that area to make it easier for the parks employees to get in and out of the park with any additional materials, especially in that little use space.
We'll take a look at that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay,
This doesn't need a letter, does it? Yeah, for sure, it does.
oh, yeah. All these points.
It's so early in the process.
I mean, I guess what would the purpose of the letter be? Simply to memorialize the people?
It would be, yeah, because we went to the public session to hear, and then that's why just to feedback, but this is what the public and what we would be looking for in the design. This, and this, and if they can do it, great, if they can't, then they'll come back with the design. And then I guess it would go from there, but, like you were saying about moving the storage, see if you could do that, that would be in the letter. See if you could have water bottle fillers, that would be in the letter. Move the pickleball court, whatever the feedback was.
Can I just add that, we go through our review process and then we come back to the community board to present the project. So you'll see the design, and then that letter will be the one that we'll use for PDC. So this is sort of an interim step, but it's great to hear your feedback and include it in all of our scope items.
Yeah, this one is not for, you're right, this would just be what we hope that you guys would consider as you're doing the design, because you're doing it now, right? You're in the process of designing the design.
Right,
And-
this is our preliminary look at the park, and then we
Yeah.
get into the design part, which takes a few months, and we'll come back as soon as we can to let you see what our design looks like, and you can tear it to pieces if you'd like, but I think you'll like it.
No, because we're gonna send you this letter now. You'll have it all incorporated and it'll be great.
And just one question, does the parks have any like demographic user information specifically for DeWitt Clinton? Because it is a somewhat larger park, I'm just curious.
Very large, very large.
Yep.
It's huge.
Yep.
Oh, there's Steve.
The answer
Yes.
may be no, I'm just curious.
I mean,
About demographics of the user of the park.
the question is, do we have demographic information about the users of the park?
Yes.
No, we don't have really the capability of collecting that kind of information.
Basically, families,
Yeah.
lots of leagues, there's a summer basketball league that plays on the courts.
Yeah.
I mean, anecdotally, I think we know.
Oh.
I'm just curious.
Well, listen, we're certainly aware of the users in terms of the people, the permit holders, people who we've issued permits to. But I couldn't tell you who's using the playground. Or who. I couldn't even tell you right now who plays basketball or handball there. But we did glean some good information from the previous community input meeting we held, I believe on June 26th.
There's just a lot of cool stuff going on.
Sorry, Steve, just so you know, I went over right before you got here with the committee of the points that the people brought up from the public, many of them, and then Whitney had the slide of the public input comments as well.
I have a question for Steve.
Go.
Steve, I just have a quick question regarding interim repairs on the basketball courts. Are those able to be done?
It depends on what type of repairs you're referring to.
Filling the cracks?
Oh, well, yeah, we can have somebody take a look at that.
Okay, because these basketball courts specifically have been called out in some social media videos of basketball courts around the city, as this is the place where you will roll your ankle.
This is a place where what?
You
will
roll your ankle.
roll your ankle, where you will be injured playing on these courts because of the disrepair.
Oh, gosh. All right, well, I'll have somebody take a look at that right away.
I can include that also, in that, like we could say. In the,
I mean, maybe I'll bring it up every.
Yeah, but we can put it in and say, okay.
I don't know. It may already be on a list of sites that we're planning to address. I'll have to check tomorrow.
Thank you.
Hey, Steve, since you're on, I know you were at another community board, but we were talking about the Mathews-Palmer. Is there any way to get another year? Like, I know it's a tight fit in that bathroom. Is there any way to get another men's urinal in there, since that's where the cab drivers and the Uber drivers use quite frequently as their stop? Or what do you think on that?
Well, is that a question that you raised in the earlier part of the meeting?
Yeah, and there were a few things that would kind of defer to you, I guess. I don't know if that was necessarily one of them, but there were a few things that I think were maybe better for your ears. Well, I'm not an expert on figuring out how many urinals you can fit in the bathroom, but I'll talk to I'll talk to our staff people tomorrow and get a recap about the meeting and discuss that with them.
And one of the other questions regarding the bathrooms at Mathews-Palmer's, on the wall facing the interior of the park, there are those art tiles that will be removed during the renovation. And there doesn't seem to be a current plan to reinstall them, but we're talking about generations of families that have lived in this neighborhood whose like grandparents may have actually made those or worked on those. So if there's a way to reincorporate them either within the new facade or the, you know, updated facade or somewhere else in the park to not just completely remove them from the park, that would be great.
All right, well, we'll discuss that further as well.
Thank you.
I'm not sure what condition those panels are in. We're gonna have to take a closer look at this.
We're ready for a motion that says, we are delighted to see this planning for Mathews-Palmer going on and here at DeWitt Clinton going on. And here are our list of concerns. We're looking forward to a further report.
And elements that we would hopefully include in the design process, right?
Yes.
Any second?
We're looking for a motion. You made the motion?
Sure, so moved.
You made the second. We got a motion on the floor. All in favor? Anybody against? Anybody present not eligible? Anybody abstaining? It looks like the motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Parks. That
Thank
was
you.
great.
All right, can I just get another couple of minutes?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, first of all, I don't know whether we acknowledged that the presentation that you just heard about DeWitt Clinton is somewhat unprecedented. This is not the type of presentation we ever make to a community board. We don't come to you at this stage of the design process. We usually come to you when we have a design that we're proposing. So this is you asked for it and we gave it to you. But this is very unusual.
Steve, you weren't here when I spent about 10 minutes of the committee's time thanking them for the presentation, knowing that it was unusual.
Okay, well then I take back whatever I just said. But what I do want you to know is that at Mathews-Palmer on Monday, scaffolding is going to be installed on an adjacent building on the 45th Street side. So that's going to necessitate closing that entrance to the playground for that day on Monday. The park will still be open to the public. People will be able to come in off of 46th Street, but that particular entrance at 45th will be closed. So there is exterior work that's required on that residential building on 45th, and the scaffolding is going to for a period of time while that work is underway is going to block off access to the benches that are along the wall to chess tables we have there. The adult fitness area, most of that will be affected. The drinking fountain will remain open. The ping pong table will remain open, although it'll be a tight fit up against the scaffolding. This work is going to take anywhere between, it could take up to 3 months. We're hoping it's going to take much less than that. But this is, we have to accommodate this because of the hazard posed by the problems with the brickwork on the exterior of that building.
Thank you, Steve.
Steve, with that scaffolding, can you ensure that, I don't know how it's going to be put up, but ensuring that there's no way for people to get behind it, because that corner where that like chess table benches is frequently used for drugs. So if we can make sure there's no way people can get behind the scaffolding into that space, that would be great.
That's a very good point. Thank you. I'll be looking into that right away. Yes. Hopefully our people have already taken care of that, but I'll definitely make sure it's addressed.
Thank you, Steve. And Janine, I think I saw Arnold.
Yeah, Arnold has his hand up. I'm gonna bring him over.
Sure, thank you.
I'm sorry, was that a question for me?
I'm sorry, Steve, there's someone from the public who had his hand up and he's just coming over to ask a question.
Oh, okay.
Janine's bringing him over.
Oh, I think he just rang the doorbell.
Okay, can you hear me?
Hi, Arnold. Yes, go ahead. We can hear you.
Hi there. Okay, earlier in the presentation, Whitney said that you want to make this accessible and inclusive. Now, I know you're making things accessible, but I don't know if you're making it inclusive. And I want to talk specifically about the basketball court. I see that there are going to be the two big basketball courts, which aren't really inclusive. They're not made for people with handicaps. Now, if I try to get you to change those, ain't gonna happen. But a moment ago, he said there was a extra basketball court that you want to get rid of. And I think in that area, you can create an inclusive basketball facility. Would you folks be interested in creating inclusive basketball in this park?
Is Whitney still with us?
I'm here.
Whitney, why don't we look at that?
Well, okay. we if you can give us a couple of items that you would like to see.
Yes. There's something called the bang shot basketball system, which is an inclusive basketball system for all disabilities. And if you put that there, then you will have inclusive, not only accessible, but inclusive basketball in the park. Do you folks have a mandate to be inclusive? Do you want to be, not mandate, do you want to be inclusive? Would you like to be inclusive?
We do like to be inclusive.
Then I will have somebody from, if you say that, I will have somebody from this manufacturer call you about having inclusivity in that facility. Is that okay with you, Steve?
Well, I mean, we cannot commit to purchasing anything from a particular manufacturer.
Okay.
But certainly we can take a look at. Hopefully, the item that's being recommended to us is available from more than one manufacturer. We can't, we can't deal with something that's exclusive and is only done by one manufacturer. So it's got to be something that's more widely available.
You've installed these systems in other parks in Brooklyn and Queens. Maybe you have to go and do a request for proposals, but it can be done. You can create inclusive basketball, whether from these people or from some other people. You still can create inclusivity.
Okay, well, hopefully it's an item that's that's available.
It's on your approved list.
Okay.
And I will have somebody contact you. Thank you.
We have the information on that company. We're aware of that company already.
Okay. Right. So, and yet, have you considered them for the site?
Okay.
To create inclusivity.
All right, let's take a look at it.
Thank you.
Take a look, absolutely.
All right, and you're saying that we've used this in other New York City parks?
You have it in Brooklyn parks. You have two of these in Brooklyn. I think one of them in Queens coming up. It is in other parks, and there is no inclusive basketball in Manhattan.
Well, okay. All right. Point well stated. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Arnold.
And Arnold, we will also include that point in our letter.
Thank you very much.
Of course. Thank you. Anything else for Steve? Oh, Steve, did you want to wrap up anything else? I know you mentioned the scaffolding, but is there anything else Parks wanted to update on?
No, that's about it. I just wanted to make sure you knew about that that one-day closure at the 45th Street entrance to Mathews-Palmer.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you so much. Thank you, Parks.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So our second item, and we're so happy they're here. EDC is going to you and very patient. Thank you, guys. Just to get our newer members up to speed, EDC has been, actually, you guys have been coming a lot to our meetings. You've been really great with us, actually. It all started, I shouldn't say it all started, but it was main push was getting shore power, electric shore power to the cruise ship terminals, which we were all working on, and then it was a little bit of a sudden stop, and then there was what EDC is calling the master plan, and they're looking at the Manhattan Cruise Terminal and doing a full renovation and looking at just holistically every aspect of it. including shore power into that, but we're trying to kind of address each of the aspects now. Hopefully shore power will be a priority for them, which they said it is. But so included in that is what I think we should really talk about this at full board. It's a very, very, very big win for our community. It's a huge win for Community Board 4, but we've been pushing, and I'm sorry Brad's not here. But we have been pushing that over the years that maybe EDC could put a fee or a tax on passengers that come off the cruise ships, maybe $1, and can put them back into the community. And guess what? They're doing it. And we're gonna see in our community, I mean, you guys can talk about it, but about $1 million a year, it could be 700,000 in 1 year, it could fluctuate, but that is a very big chunk of change that we are going to see for programs and projects in the community. So I think it's like a major, I don't say windfall, but it's a hard work towards it to get that. But I just wanted to preface it by saying thank you guys because it's good news. Now we just gotta get some of the details sorted out, right? So take it away.
Yeah. And Janine, do you pull up our slides? Is that possible?
No. Janine, can you pull up the EDC slides?
Janine, can you hear us?
Yeah, give me 1 second, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Well, we'll get that up. So I know we've had a lot of different projects on the cruise portfolio side of things, which is why we have a deep bench with us today.
Do you want to stand? Is that
Yeah,
okay?
of course.
Yeah. Thanks, Carl.
So most of you know me, I'm Tara Dawson with the Community Relations team at EDC. I work with all our transportation, waterfront projects, the cruise, ones that is bringing me here a lot more frequently. So in the back of our cruise team, Allison, who's showing up right now, Anjali, Sudhir, William, our GovCo intern for the summer, is also joining us today, which is very exciting. And then we have Preston, from our economic mobility team, who's doing a lot on the cruise fund, and Wendy Starr, who's the senior vice president of that team, as well as supporting on we're really leading on our cruise fund work. So we wanted to come with an update on our master plan and shore power work, just so that you all know the latest on where we are with that. But really spent a lot of our time today going into the cruise fund. So we do have a slide on the master plan coming up, but I can at least speak to it a little bit while it's getting pulled up. So our engagement on this specifically really kicked off in November. I know we came here, I think it was December or January, with a recap of our first meeting, introduction to the master plan project. We then held a second workshop that was getting more into different specifics around what all the community wants to see as part of the master plan. It was things like benches for waiting for pedestrians, or green space, or waterfront actions, that kind of thing. And then in parallel to that, we've also been doing a lot of more operational analysis, talking to industry stakeholders to better understand how we can really bring this terminal up to be a modern terminal, to be serving the future of the cruise industry, as well as be a really good neighbor here. So you can just put the next slide here, please.
Sorry, can you guys all see it?
Yeah, if we can just go to the next slide.
Yeah.
Perfect. Amazing. So this is kind of where we are right now. On the other side of things, from park community, we've been doing a lot of industry expert interviews, understanding how we can integrate these community priorities into a terminal that is serving the cruise industry as well. And so we have been planning on having a third public workshop. I think we had spoken at some point of doing that in the spring or summer, but we are holding off a little bit longer since we are doing a lot for due diligence, which is this area here. So we're working on coordinating a lot of this effort with federal, state actors in this. This project, as Leslie mentioned, is huge. It's redeveloping a food waterfront site, but also given the future of the cruise industry and what we're trying to deliver here, there is a lot more coordination that we're working on right now. We're also doing some financial diligence, making sure that this is something that we can really get private investment in, as well as understanding the other regulatory steps that will have to happen to deliver this. So once we come back to a public workshop, we'll be able to really present something more concrete that we know is feasible from all those other aspects and then get really solid feedback there. And then once we have that public workshop, get that final feedback, we'll integrate that into a final master plan. For folks who might not be as familiar with the master planning process, and Leslie spoke to this a little bit already, but the reason that we're doing this is because not only is the terminal not serving the community, it's blocked off for every single moment that it's not being used for a cruise terminal, and when it's open, it's really only just serving cruise passengers. It's also on really, really old infrastructure. These piers are 90 years old and at the end of their life, so we need to redevelop them. And we also just want to think about a cruise terminal that is better configured for the neighborhood and for the problem. So, going to the next slide, I'll pass it to Allison to go over this a little bit more depth. As Leslie mentioned, shore power is a huge key priority. As we know, it is for you, it is for us, not just from the environmental standpoint, which obviously is a key driver here. Janine, if we can just pass to the next slide. But also because that is where the future of the industry is growing. So I say that more to say that there, from all sides, we have some pressure to deliver on this and are really excited to be moving forward with it. So on the timeline side, which is a question that I know often comes up, we are still need this master plan to really deliver on figuring out how all these aspects come together and can have a bit more of an idea of what that looks like, but we're still moving forward with work that we can in parallel to that. So I'll pass it to Allison to talk through that.
Yeah, sure. I think, you know, we heard you all loud and clear about doing everything that we possibly could on the shore power side while the master plan is happening. So right now, we are in very active conversations, I think also with the community board, with Con Edison. To do the work that's needed to help to figure out the process for bringing the power to the property line. And we are, I would say, we're going back and forth with Con Ed. They're extremely engaged. They're asking lots of questions. They're asking, I think, what we would say are like the right questions about how much power needs to be brought to the property. So currently we updated our load letter with Con Ed. So we had previously submitted one to them that was to electrify one berth. We have updated that. It's now to electrify 3 berths. We're waiting for their final determination. I believe we have about 70 NDA is what we're requesting out of this new site. And we can you just get this? We have Sedair in back. It's a lot of power. It's a lot of power. But the good news is that Con Ed has not, they've been really supportive and it is a lot of power. But we haven't gotten an indication from them that that's not an amount that can be brought to the property. Of course, there will be a step which will be involved with bringing it to the property line, which is actually trenching it under the West Side Highway, then trenching it through the greenway. So that's kind of that's the phase that we're really focused on right now, is bringing all the power it's gonna need and bring it to the property line. The other part of that, besides working with Con Ed about what it would cost and everything that we'll kind of need to go into it on their side, is we have put in a city capital ask. We put a placeholder amount in for now to fund that work with Con Ed to bring power to the property lines. We're hoping to hear back from Con Ed within the month. That'll give us information about just like confirmation that they can bring the amount of power that's needed to the site. It'll have rate information, and it'll also have kind of a down payment deposit amount that they require to get started on the work, which is why we're sort of simultaneously working on gave this, making sure we get the city capital request approved. So that's sort of the latest on where we're at on short-term side.
Has that number varied, that 17 number? It was higher before.
70. 70.
70?
Yes.
Oh, I heard 17.
70.
That's the largest number I've heard so far.
Yeah.
This is great news, at least, you know, we wanted to get it at least to the.
Yeah.
Regardless of what the master plan was, we knew we needed to get it moved west.
Right. So as Tara mentioned, the master plan will help inform where the new substation will go. Right now, it's at the eastern edge of Goodrich.
Which is kind of connection B, but yeah, you know, the first connection is to the west side highway. We all know it's gonna come to the west side highway or that area.
Yeah, we're talking about bringing it under the west side highway, under the Hudson River Trail.
So I just have one question, and hopefully you kind of touched upon at the end. I know there have been a few load letters that have gone into Con Ed, and I know they have a time limit on the load letter, like saying, okay, once we approve it, you have 6 months to then put the down payment on.
Right.
Are we confident this time that once they give you the, you know, the approval or the whatever, the load letter will then look like, that EDC, the city does have that money to put the down payment,
Yeah.
go through it again? Or-
Yeah, part of what we cover is we are also simultaneously putting in a request to OMB to get funds forward with it, so we're tackling it on both sides. I will say the last time that we went through this exercise, I wouldn't say it was the not delivering in 6 months thing that stopped it, it was more us taking a pause to do this, you know, master plan effort, it's done, this integration work of sorts. So, but to answer your question, yeah, we are working on both sides.
More confident that they're gonna say, okay.
We're working on it. We're
Okay.
working on it. We're actively working on it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Yeah.
At one point, we had mentioned the existence of the smaller substation on 49th Street. Is that out of the picture, please, or is that gonna be able to be incorporated? I don't remember what you said, I just know it's there. You mentioned.
Yeah, so that's not a substation that is a substation just for MCs for the Manhattan Cruise Terminal. It is a kind of facility.
Right, right near there. It's
Right,
like
right
12th
there,
Avenue and 49th, yeah, it's right there. So.
They've talked about it some in their conversations with us. I'm not exactly sure the technical of like how that. The relationship between that and the new substation and us.
They both help.
They certainly have power that.
Right.
There.
So we'll shift gears a little bit and go into the meat of our conversation today, which is the cruise fund. So we can split to the next slide. And as Leslie mentioned, you know, the history of this fund goes way back before I was at EDC. It was a lot of your advocacy here. So we're excited that we're now at a point that we can really start to move forward with something. Jamie, if we just pass this to the next slide. So as Leslie mentioned, this fund is gonna be built out using $1 per passenger taken from the cruise lines and then to this fund. That goes back, that will kind of date back to 2024. So you'll also see on the next slide, there will be an amount in 2024 and an amount in 2025. And those different amounts will shift based off of how many cruise passengers come in. In our conversations we've had with folks over the past couple of years, we have understood that this is obviously one, there are significant needs that you have all identified, priorities for this that over at the higher level standpoint, this can go forward. So really what we've been working on is figuring out what the process is to do this in a way that is not only getting the funds out to the community, but is doing it with a robust process that is making sure that we are doing this in a way that where there's accountability. And so we've been working on trying to find what is the appropriate structure that allows for all these principles to really be integrated into our process that works for everyone. So I'll pass it to Wendy to walk us through what we've come up with.
Great, thank you, Tara. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, and I'll just do a quick introduction because I'm new to this group. My name is Wendy Starr. I'm a senior vice president at EDC, representing our equity and community impact team, and in that way, I oversee our economic mobility group as well. And just so you know, I have 2 kids, a dog and a cat. So I think I've combined all of the group in the introductions earlier. And I apologize that I am not in person with my colleagues, but I am upstate for a week while those kids are in sleepaway camp. And so next time I will join you in person. That being said, I just want to echo a couple high-level overview points that Tara made. Over the past several months, EDC has been strategizing diligently on how to best operate this community fund in a way that allows for a really robust and meaningful community involvement. And we've been collaboratively putting our heads together to figure out how can we also balance the fund's ability to be deployed to the community in a way that is streamlined and straightforward. I mean, as you all know, this fund represents a major opportunity to deliver public benefits directly tied to cruise activity. So our team, as well as the Cruise Fund team and many others throughout EDC, have been figuring out and identifying a pathway forward. We considered oversight so that we can ensure that there's a decision-making body with representation from the council member, from the community board, from EDC. We also considered priorities. We need to keep a balance between the priorities we've heard of from folks so far, while also maintaining flexibility for future needs. And we've also needed to figure out a process that doesn't hinder the ability for funds to be deployed and allows for sustainability, longevity, sustainability, and also accountability with respect to the funds themselves. So with all of that in mind and all of those considerations, we have figured out a process that we think will work really well in order to enable streamlined deployment. We plan to launch a competitive RFP, a request for proposal, to select a fund administrator. This administrator would ideally be a local organization with deep roots and context in the local community. You can see on the fund that's up, we delineated the principles that I just described. And you can see that there is, at the end of calendar year 2025, as an estimate, 1.3 million available for the first round of distribution. That's a good amount of money that we can reinvest back into the community. Next slide, please. Thank you. So we just want to talk a little bit about the fund administrator tasks and responsibilities. This is not a new model. This is a model that's been done in other funds throughout New York City. And then we're going to talk a little bit about process and then take questions and answers. And so I'm going to discuss with you pretty oversight over which ways the process works and also the various responsibilities. Hold on a second. I'm just going to my screen here. So a fund administrator would work very closely with the community advisory board and help facilitate and convene that board. This board would be comprised of leadership, as you see on the slide, from Manhattan Community Board 4, Councilmember Boucher, key NYC EDC staff, and broader community representatives who would provide feedback on the fund management, but more importantly, also on the project selection and then the priority needs. The fund would do the administrator would do ongoing engagement with the community to identify the priorities through a very inclusive and robust process, and then facilitate an open call for applications for recipients to source project ideas, but to also source project awardees who could deliver on the priorities identified by the Community Advisory Board, and also provide oversight of the awardees' implementation, including monitoring and impact evaluation of the selected projects, the funding, and how things are going moving forward, as well as when priorities and shifts change. The Community Advisory Board would also have many roles to play. They would help determine the overall priorities and inform the process to evaluate the project ideas and the submissions once the administrator puts out an open call. They would evaluate and review project applications, and they would also provide ongoing feedback on the management, the selection, as well as the evaluation and the process moving forward. Next slide, please. So we're hoping that this slide can answer quite a few questions that I know will come up concerning the process. And we really wanted to drill down a little bit over this 6-step process so that we can discuss our vision and then we can answer any questions. The EDC would conduct an RFP, as I said, and use a competitive process to select a fund administrator. This administrator would manage the funds over a set number of years. This would be in consultation, as you can see on the slide, with the council member and the community board. The fund administrator facilitates a community advisory board with, again, the members that I just discussed earlier. And that community advisory board would determine the priorities and the needs for the community. I know there's been a lot of discussed in the past, and there's been many identified, and they would drill down on those priorities and then create a process to evaluate the submissions. The fund administrator would put out an open call for submissions, responding to the set criteria and identified needs within the community. This could be some examples that have come up in the past: cruise impact mitigation, beautification, workforce development opportunities, etc. The community advisory board would evaluate the submissions and ultimately make the selection. And the fund administrator enters into and manages funding the agreements with the recipients and oversees the funding distribution and manages oversight of these awardees. We see this as a process that will allow for longevity, sustainability in the midst of various leadership changes, and allow the money to continue to be reinvested in a responsive and robust way to community needs. With respect to this process, we are here to collaborate and coordinate throughout the entire process. And I'd like to open it up to discussion and questions at this juncture.
Great. And also Janine,
Thanks, Libby. I guess one last point to drive home for you all, kind of going back to the procurement side of things. So like, this is a solution that solves both procurement rules that we have about deploying funds, and then the desire to deploy these funds exactly in the way that we want and to do it quickly. So basically, we procure, we do that competitively, we hand it off to someone, and then they do what we want them to do with the funds. We don't want to be in the 3-year timeline of.
Thank you. Janine? Hey, Janine, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry. Say that again.
Okay. Can you bring over Clinton,
Sure.
Councilmember Botcher's office, because he was in on the call, and I'll tell the committee. So was it yesterday?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my God.
It was yesterday.
So yesterday, we were on a call, EDC, myself, I think you were on the train, and then, and Councilmember Botcher, trying to kind of, I guess, lay out some sort of framework or just get some answers to some questions on how this would work as far as the fund administrator, how much influence that fund administrator would have. And we could talk about all of this also as well. And kind of projects we would want this money used for, and capital versus expense, and we're gonna talk all about that now. But that's why I wanted to bring Clinton on, because he was there as well, and he can probably also best voice Councilmember Botcher's wishes on this. And I also conferred with the council member today, because this will be a letter about like kind of what we think this is gonna look like, and just to get his input on that. So we're just all on the same team and kind of rowing in the same direction, because this is gonna be a really, really wonderful thing for our district. Go ahead.
Just informationally, is there a limited number of years in which the, I guess, fee from cruise passengers can be collected? I noticed this timeline ends in 2026. Is that meant to repeat itself, or is this
Yeah.
time limited?
That projection is just because that's how much we have of him, so.
Hey, everybody,
Yeah.
I think I might have lost you. Ooh, back.
Usually as, cruise bookings come through, then we have an idea of those subsequent years, so that's just because this is the number that we know for now. But yeah, it would be in place for years to come.
Like it's just
This is
in
perpetuity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money each year. A lot of it.
And the fund administrator, I can't hear if someone said this, and so I apologize if I'm jumping in, but the fund administrator can be contracted for multiple years and then renewed if we think it's going well.
Or not.
Or not, exactly. That's my point.
Ellen,
What percent of like, I guess, let's say we have the $500,000 or $700,000 a year would go to the fund administrative costs? Because there's a part of me that's like, oh my God, if it's, $700,000, but 200 of which we have to pay somebody to administer this feels like.
Yeah, no, understood. We talked a lot about that as well. And, if I end up talking over my colleagues in the room, just give me a little bit of a shout out here. But the administrator, well, first of all, two things. One, the administrator will most likely, we intend to be a community organization or someone local and into the community. So in some ways, the administrative fee is still going into the community by virtue of selecting that administrator. That's one thing. Second of all, the fee will be negotiable as part of the competitive process. We've seen, don't quote me on this, but we've seen 10%, we've seen various different percentages that are not as large as you just said with respect to that administration.
Yeah,
But I think that was part of mine. I think you made a comment as we would just clarify, was part of the thinking on procuring an external administrator because EDC can't deploy like grants with it, like what? Yeah. Well, where did this come from? Cause I have the same concern about the overhead and the continuity of the fund administrator. Like if you're procuring someone every couple of years, I mean, it doesn't.
There's an element that we haven't.
Trade-offs.
Sorry, yes, there are trade-offs. There's an element that we actually haven't spoken to, which I think is there's sort of the bureaucratic requirements that are kind of accidentally imposed, I guess, on folks that will be engaging with us directly, right? So like, imagine that we're awarding to XYZ CBOs to initiate some project in the community. There's gonna be insurance requirements. There's gonna be all these sort of like difficult bureaucratic things that make it a little bit more complicated to like facilitate the flow of funds in a way that makes sense. We think a fund operator having like managing their own process will be a little bit easier for us to do that. Does that make sense? So that's like one element of it.
I think another element too is there's a benefit of having an entity that is not any of the stakeholders who are making the decisions, like a community advisory board would have the council member, would have the board, but also EDC at the table too, and so it also creates an entity that's kind of neutral to doing that fund administration process and a lot of that project management. And also fundamentally EDC has not done grant administration, this is, so I think having someone that is ideally in the community who's an expert at deploying these funds. And in a way that doesn't have those bureaucratic steps that our procurement rules do, just is the more ideal triangle of the process.
And just to be clear, I think we talked about this a few times, is the fund administrator, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the role is not to decide on which projects are valid.
No, that's correct.
That would be up to, when I say us, the community and the council member's office, it was three-pronged. It would be a CB4's, this committee, Waterfront Parks and Environment Committee, it would be the council member's office, and it would be another community advisory board outside of CB4, like maybe people from the lot associations in Hell's Kitchen or somewhere nearby. But the fund administrator, I believe, right, is not the one that is going to be like, I think you need a new water fountain here, and this is what we're gonna, it's really just the paperwork and to execute insurance and administration.
And to really govern the robust community, and to really oversee and be able to facilitate the robust community engagement that the community's asked for with respect to this fund, which we really took to heart when we were deciding how to move forward so that we can get the money back in the community. We don't need it sitting at EDC. We need to get it to you.
So there's just a quick follow-up. Yeah, I understand some of the things you're trying to solve for. I guess I'm just wondering, was there any alternative explored of like EDC creating one of its own entities and just like with one or two staff to serve as that administrator? Because that feels like a lot more stable and probably lower overhead at the end.
One of the trade-offs for, do you want me to go first?
Well, I wish it was more stable. But for those of you, you've seen, I would just say EDC does not have quite the same tenure always on staff level that like Parks does. And so I think actually one of our concerns was about making sure like that this is a very stable thing. It is not reliant on like any specific staff. We love her. We hope she stays here forever. That's not to say she will.
But also there's no one that does that function at EDC. There's no.
No, I understand. And then there's currently not folks who do that.
Yeah.
That's not to say that we couldn't. So I think one thing that's helpful to think about, and we've talked about this a lot internally, is like if we go with this path, no one's locked into it, right? Like you could be like, this is not working for us, and let's redecide how these funds get administered, and then we do that. So I think the goal with this was really about like speed and then making it so that certain projects like aren't too small. Like some firms just don't have the insurance that it takes. EDC requires that you also indemnify the city, and EDC, like those are not our decisions, those are just like big things. And so like certain nonprofits that might be like, if you wanted to have a mural, I'm making stuff up, fun. But like there just might be smaller projects that we kind of felt like it would be more effective and like faster to have someone else do it. But I would say we're just like we've debated the same things like many times over the last.
So we talked about that with, I talked about that with Tara, like say, you know, there will be big projects, I'm sure, right?
Yes.
Big expenses, but say, you know, Clinton Garden or something, you know, wanted $1,000 for plantings or something. This maybe might be a better avenue, because they won't have the insurance that the city would require, they won't have a lot of those checks and balances that would be, and we don't want to exclude that. We don't want just these big nonprofits to be applying.
Yeah, there can be a consortium of awardees that are filling different gaps in the community, which is what is exciting about this particular avenue. You can have an administrator who then fulfills the various contracting and legal requirements with EDC that then is not selecting, but then is administering the process through the community advisory board selection to give out micro grants throughout the community that then will fill gaps that has been identified by the advisory board. Done in a different way, that situation wouldn't be able to exist. We're doing this in economic mobility networks currently, where we're doing workforce development throughout various neighborhoods with consortiums of various organizations. And so it's a real mechanism to be able to get money back into the community to fill gaps where the community feels that there's needs in a way that can have a really robust conversation, a really robust facilitation of a network, and also turnover of groups, right? Like there can be awardees on an annual basis that then turn over to fill different gaps. And so it's an exciting way to really get the money out to the door to many different organizations that might not have the opportunity to fill needs in the community. That's selected by you all.
And that is one of the things, and we'll be very explicit in our letter when we talk about this, that my major concern, I think I had a few, but one of the major concerns was that it wouldn't be, hopefully, there's this pot and nonprofits would just kind of say, I wanna apply for this to get some money. We already have a lot of needs in our community that we need to be filled, you know, whether they're building wheelchair ramps on certain blocks that we can use this money for, whether it's curb cuts, exactly, whether it's, you know, I know Quentin is on, the council member really would like to see some of this money maybe going to consistent trash pickup and cleanup. So we didn't want to see, or I didn't want to see, and I think the Quentin, I don't wanna put more Jim, I think the council member was agreeing on this point, that it wouldn't be like, you know, outside, not outside, but nonprofits who are around the neighborhood would be like, hey, can we have $500,000 for this project? It was more, we already have a statement of district needs. We have, you know, we already identify every year, capital and expense, what we need, and hopefully this money can address some of that. Now, I think that's what the community, this advisory committee would kind of be helpful with. And correct me if I'm wrong with any of this, and with this, it's kind of like we're telling them, okay, we need park benches in this park. And it's the facilitator's job to be like, okay, we're gonna send an RFP for companies to do that, or what, I don't know, maybe.
Sure, yeah, exactly, entities to deliver on that.
And Quinn, I know, do you want to, I think you were there, can you hear me? I don't know if you could hear me.
Yes.
I don't know if you want to chime in, I know you were at the meeting yesterday, if you want to chime in for the council member's office, or is that okay?
Yeah, no, I obviously huge caveat here. It's been a busy couple of days for everybody in bocce world. So I don't want to, don't put too much weight into what I'm saying if it's not word by word accurate, you know. But the yeah, basically the gist of it is, and you know, I think you discussed this a bit on the call as well with everybody, is sometimes it can be, you know, there are certain procurement things that can be very, very expensive that there are other sources of money for, versus, as you mentioned, like, you know, $500,000 might get, and I'm slightly exaggerating, but you know, one nice park bench that would be great, but there's other sources for that, versus could fund just a really impressive amount of trash pickup, or, you know, people to help out, you know, in other ways around the area. You know, even like pruning greenery and stuff like that. Basically not trying to be too locked into like, here is expressly, you know, we're going to use it to buy stuff. He wants a little bit more flexibility in that sense.
Thank you, Quinn, and I think, hold on one second, I just want to, the one thing also that we have to kind of flesh out is, there was in the conversation a little bit of a concern of giving some of this money to city agencies to then carry out, so like PEPS is a big, it is like, we need a parks worker or a PEPS officer at DeWitt Clinton. And this money could serve, you know, as that, as to get, now, that was, I think that was a little bit of a tight spot. Can we give that money to parks just for that? And I don't think we can, I don't know, like, that's what we're trying to figure out.
So in your presentation, I know you have a question, I'm gonna jump in here anyway. In your presentation, Wendy, you used language like set criteria, I think it was she that used that language. And somebody else just said, contracting legal requirements. And my question, and then there's the issue of city versus private, which you just raised.
Yeah, I wanna hear you.
And another issue that actually Quentin just raised, I don't know whether he meant to, was that in this whole process, we need to be careful to fund things that don't have funds available from another source. We're not here to replace other funding sources for what's going on. That's a complex set of questions that I'm just asking. Set criteria, what are the legal requirements, what kinds of project can we and can we not do? What is the objection to giving money, if there is, to city? And
Yeah, so there's a piece of that we're still diligencing, especially this piece. Oh, there's a piece of this that we're still diligencing, especially when it comes to.
Diligencing?
Diligencing.
Is that a word?
We use it a lot at EDC, but forget that's not a real world. In the real.
That's good. Good job.
It's, so, yeah, trying to figure out whether this can actually happen. Our understanding is that a fund administrator is best suited to be delivering these funds to the smaller organizations, or organizations that aren't not otherwise.
Yeah.
Yes, but we know that this is, you know, something that's of interest, so we do wanna understand if there could be a way. But I think the main value here that we're trying to get at is trying to get to those sources that wouldn't otherwise be.
But you're not addressing, in your statement just now, you're not addressing the community board four's statement of district needs.
That was
which-
mentioned. Yeah, and so that.
No, in your statement, you just.
So I think we're talking about different things. We're talking about where the funds are going.
And then we're also talking about what are the priorities. So the priorities, that's kind of determined in this area here. Before we're going out asking for project or for entities to be like, I can deliver on that. So let's say there's a district need for more trash cans. The community advisory board says, we need more trash cans. We want the fund administrator to find people who can deliver on bringing those trash cans to the neighborhood. The fund administrator then puts out a call for proposals. Anyone, especially in the community, we want someone to buy trash cans and place them in these locations. Let's say there's like a couple, let's say there's a couple of community organizations that are like, yes, I can buy those trash cans for you. They'll submit their proposal. You all then review it and decide, okay, we're gonna have XYZ organization get the trash cans in these locations.
Can I ask a question about that scenario?
Yeah.
Because like, and Leslie, I'm sure you all clearly saw a lot more about this, and sorry, so I just rejoined me, but it's helpful, beginning to speak, it's like, so many of our district needs are handled by city agencies. So I'm like, obviously, we can find district needs that aren't, but for a lot of the things that move the needle, those are services provided by our agencies, and so it might be a shame if like this, we can't supplement,
But
there's unintended consequences of that too, because we want the city to fund budgets in our neighborhood, but like if we do want, you know, extra recycling bins somewhere, I mean, someone's gonna have to pick up that trash. Is the administrator really gonna find an entity that's gonna set itself up to supplement trash? Like, I'm sort of struggling with how, or some of these things gonna
Like an
actually get
ACE or a DOE fund.
Well, I mean, I think
redundancy with
Yeah,
a city.
Can I- there's a real, can I just jump in for a second?
Says funding not available from the city on all those items that are
Right,
rejected.
understood. No, I know, but it's a lot of those things that we want done, a city agency would handle, and so I'm just trying to play it forward, like how would some of these things actually work in practice?
Can I just jump in? There is a real legal question as to whether or not a particular public benefits corporation could give money to a specific city agency to specifically supplement its services to a particular neighborhood in New York City. And I am a lawyer, but I'm not researching that particular question right now, but I can tell you that I think that's a pretty big question and that we've given it to our legal unit. I think that there's ways that I've seen that it could go into general city funds, but that's not what you're looking for, right? You're looking for specific additional services into your district. And I think that's a very, very complicated question that we're researching, and it's going to take us a little digging to see. That being said, we don't want that legal question as to whether or not can we give, well, two things. One, I think there's one question from a legal standpoint that has to do with, can we fund additional cans? Then you're asking, can we fund additional employees? That's a very different question, right? Like, can we have additional employees selected to station and service our area? And whether or not that can be done, I think is a distinct and separate legal inquiry that would really need to be dug into and is already being delegated to a particular lawyer at ADC. But it's not a quick answer. I think it's a complicated question. Yeah, and so we hear you on that. I think it's a really interesting question. I think that there are ways to supplement potentially the areas where you're seeing the gaps from the city agency through other means or potentially through the city agencies. And that's what the administrator then, in collaboration with the community advisory board, would be deciding.
I just want to tell you, Wendy, that in my work with the Bronx River Alliance, which is an organization that's funded by parks and privately. Both are occurring at the same time. And the various parks throughout the city, Central Park, Prospect Park, have organizations that are both public and privately funded. I mean, you're talking about something that is happening in other places.
The city agency is, EDC is not a city agency, it's a public benefit corporation, so it is very different. It's not the same as parks having a Friends of, or City Parks Alliance or anything like that. It's not a city agency.
That's correct.
And I didn't mean to call it a rock, this is part of me
No,
understanding how.
Sarah, just so you know, and I'll give you an example, we talked about this, I brought this up a lot because, and I'll bring up the example of PEP officers, right? Because, well, let me give you the first example. We were talking about trash, right? And there is a way to clean up trash without using DSNY, right? We can get the Joe Fund, we can get ACEs, more ACEs to clean up trash, we can get whatever, and there's a way to do that, and that's what Eric was, the council member was giving an example of. He's like, I could get more, ACEs guys with this money on the streets to clean up. But then we got to your point, PEPS officers. We can't hire private security guys to start running, roaming around I mean, you could, I guess. But we could. I don't know if that's the way the city would, we would wanna do that. Then we get into other very, strange areas of enforcement and who's that, so that if we wanted a PEP officer somewhere, we would want a city trained PEP officer, not some security, so that's where you're right, that's where it's getting, very kind of, complicated a little bit. So I wanted, Katie had a few things to say and then we'll go down.
So the main thing I wanna note that this is a community fund. This is not a fund to supplement services that the city is supposed to be providing or will, like curb cuts. This fund should have nothing to do with curb cuts because the city already has a plan and they're doing that. They keep putting in new ramps all over 9th Avenue. So, and when it comes to supplemental sanitation, every city council member has funds that go towards that, like that are earmarked specifically for that purpose. This is an opportunity to fund things that would not otherwise be funded by our city council member or any other city agency. So very separate. And the focus has to be on specifically environmental needs.
Not necessarily.
You said that at the last meeting.
Not necessarily, but I mean, this is millions of dollars, Katie, over years. And I think we have to prioritize what the needs are year by year. I mean, it could, like, you're thinking about new projects coming up, because I know in talking with, and your point is very well taken, and I have said that too, because environment would be probably the mitigation on part of it from what the cruise ships have been doing all these years. But though the council member has discretionary funds, and there's some funds in participatory budgeting as well, for trash pickup, it's not nearly enough. It's, he's saying, and Quentin, you're on, but he's saying that's not nearly enough. His quote was, he wants Hell's Kitchen residents to eat off the streets, with all the trash. There's just not enough money in the city. Yes, the city should be definitely giving us this, this, and this, but as Marty said, we have so many things on our list from the statement of district needs that have just been languishing there for years and years, whether it's expense or capital. And we don't have to go through those right now. I think those are just, that will be fleshed out later, what the funds will be used for specifically through the advisory. This is more, we're trying to catch what we should catch now as far as, oh, wait, we can't do that? Like, what do we have to look out for, just in case we wanna do trash pick? We don't have to. We don't have to do curb cuts ever. But in case we wanted to, how would that, could it be set up? Where the council member or this advisory committee or this person or entity would have, not be handcuffed so they couldn't do it. I think it's more like that. Roberta, and then.
Would there be any requirement that the funds be dispersed every single year and also dispersed in their entirety? One of the reasons I asked that question is there may be a decision to, pool funds over a couple of years to, achieve a larger,
I'm a big proponent. I was a proponent of that, or at least that option. The option. Meaning like, okay, we have a big project that takes $3 million. Can we pocket the money for 1 to 2 years, and the third year, let's, do the whole thing, or whatever. And I know the council member was of the mind that he would probably want to use it each year, and I think EDC, Gigi said.
Yeah, I mean, I think two things, the one being, it's hard to predict what our annual targets are for each year. The one
You know, we have $1 million coming in this year, in 5 years, who knows, what if it's like 30,000? And so I think we wouldn't wanna hold ourselves to accumulating to $5 million when there's this fluctuation. That then could just hold up our funds and never deploy them. We would rather be able to deploy them quickly and as we're getting them in, or not as we're getting them in, but you know, with a more frequent cadence that we can get those funds into the community. We've also seen other funds, and this is what Gigi was mentioning yesterday, that do get held up for years. Perhaps over that time, their project costs change. And so especially with that kind of framework, it just creates more barriers to getting them out than perhaps we would want. So our perspective here is that just being able to get them out each year is just gonna have more impact than it
But then again, as we were saying with Katie, is we wanna have that option, just in case, like, we wanna have.
If
that.
there were a no-brainer project that was relatively expensive, why?
What would that be if we can't give money to city agencies? Because there's really no mechanism to give money to city agencies. The sanitation
Well, no,
foundation.
that's what we're working.
But the sanitation foundation was created because someone wanted to donate money to the department. But you can't give money to a city agency. You have to give it to a related nonprofit organization. But they can't necessarily use that money to supplement city services. So I just don't see that there's any realistic way that this money can be given to city agencies.
Or supplement city agency service.
It's just not something that there's any actual process for.
Well, that's why they were saying we have to go private, not private.
Well, yeah, but
To get a trash bin instead of saying DSNY, give us a.
But so then with that, what kind of trash bin is it gonna be? Is it gonna be from the department?
That's what I
Like,
think.
so, but even still, like with large amounts of money, if we wanna do something in a park, you can't pull money to renovate a bathroom if we can't give money to parks. So it's kind of level setting of what types of projects this money can actually go towards if it can't go to a
So we
city
can.
agency.
Is that one of the issues when
No, we
that
can,
the lawyers
we
are
can.
looking at?
So we can do that.
So
With
how?
friends of, or like, so Matt.
But the friends of would be the one doing it.
Correct, the money, right, the money would go to like a.
But the friends of isn't going to get permission from the New York City Parks Department to renovate a bathroom.
Parks said you can, Parks said if you donate the money, you can do it. We
Yes,
asked
to
Steve
that
Simon,
level?
that's specific, I don't know.
I think if you wanna add like plants or benches, you could do that, but not infrastructure.
I think that's why we have to flush it out, where we can use it for things that are
What's the?
our big needs.
It's certainly not at the level for large capital improvements. I mean, it's not that much money to do that type of bathroom renovation. And so, but that's again, something that the Community Advisory Board, which would be a grouping of community stakeholders, would decide and discuss as to what the priorities are, what are the mechanisms that the money can be used for, and what's the wish concerning what are the needs and the wishes.
I think when he's correct, but thinking in the example of the bathroom, the parks bathroom example, that's a $3 million renovation to make it ADA compliant, right? We're talking about, if we're pulling a fund that is at most going to be $1 million per year, you're talking about several years out before the funds are even accumulated, before you then can initiate the process of
If you can even
construction.
do that.
If you can even do it, and that's assuming we're gonna be able to do it, so considering those things as well too.
But we definitely have had some instances in which electeds are trying to pool their discretionary
Sure.
funds. And
But that's
so if
different because they're elected officials and they can do that.
No, she's saying add it to.
Is simply that there could be a utility if it were possible. If it's not possible, if it's not on the table, then obviously, but like that would be one of the use cases.
Like an ask for that utility, an ask. for
Yes,
that
like,
utility.
Let's go here then.
Yeah, I mean, I think this kind of conversation is just gonna evolve as we figure all of this out. We don't have to decide that now, because I can think of, for example, and participatory budgeting brought it up. One of the projects that we wanted to fund in our community was bioswales. And we kind of did it something like it, making larger tree pits, but we really didn't put in the big bioswales we wanted because we couldn't afford them. And we wanted them in many more places than they should have been. There should not have been 10 of them, there should have been 50 of them throughout the community. So it's something that does not come from the city agency, it's something that we thought that should be put in, proactively, against water runoff and all that stuff, and we couldn't do it. But this kind of money, I think, could be allocated for that kind of a project, as these projects come to our attention. So, I mean, we do have to figure out the mechanism for doing whatever it is that we're gonna do and not giving recommendations and stuff, but I'm sure that there are gonna be things that are gonna come across our desk that are viable and are needed. And we will be able to use this money for, and we'll be picking and choosing.
Is there any other precedents of, in other community boards that have these fund examples and how they're deploying them in terms of, transparent protocol, et cetera, so that we're not like kind of recreating or doing all this research, like that we can see how other people are doing it and saying what's working, what's not working. And the second question I have is, might there be a way to kind of piggyback this with the participatory process so that we, it's like we are getting feedback from our constituents, but it's like a specific fund that has like, I don't know, a special name that says, okay, this is our, cruise fund, fund, and these are the things that, ideas that we got, and you get to vote and select which, how you want to deploy this.
The public.
The public.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's just.
So that we could kind of like, I don't know, just so that we're not kind of creating a whole new organization.
It does all new though.
It is.
No one else
Yeah.
has anything like this.
Yeah, so I think for this, there will be we have this fund for both weeks from now, so we'll have this same at least process for Manhattan as we will for Brooklyn. You guys are getting this presentation first, but ideally it's the same process.
Brooklyn's collecting $1 passenger as well.
That's right. There are other funds that our team has researched. Councilman Wyman, you might be more familiar with some of those other formats. Obviously, there's a little bit of distinction between them, given where the funding is coming from, but we did base a lot of this off of.
Are the monies that you
Preston,
showed us
do you
on the previous slide,
I think one.
are the monies that you showed us from the previous slide from Brooklyn and Manhattan?
And you have those monies now in an account?
We have the 24 money.
Q1 of 25.
And Q1 of 25. And the other amounts were projected amounts. Of the ships that we know are coming and how many passengers we think.
I mean,
Q2 will be received in the next 5%.
Yeah. We do. So we have to decide on an entity before we could start discussing where you're gonna spend it? Or do we have to create a new entity for that money?
No.
I think the administrator would be.
Question, I'm sorry.
No, so my question, maybe there is already, but are we looking at creating is this discussion about creating an entity for that money to flow to right now and then start talking about where we're spending?
I think right now
Or
we're talking about this.
just the process?
That, which
Okay.
is essentially preparing the fund administrator. But a lot of these other parts, would get decided a little bit later. But right now, these questions around what is the ability for agencies or et cetera, that we're still figuring out, because that's gonna obviously determine our activity writing.
well, I was kind of suggesting maybe we don't need this fund administrator and we just attach it to vouchers, like.
Participatory.
No,
That's city money, this is not city money.
But you.
No.
Just the process be the,
Yeah.
the process, he could be the fund administrator.
Yeah,
I don't.
Can we?
but it goes,
take that back?
yeah.
Can we look into
That's
that?
what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally would not feel comfortable with having a city council member be the fund administrator.
But also, I think there's an important question that Wendy was asked previously and not given an opportunity to answer about other community-based funds and the experience that the EDC has had with that, because it can provide both a template and a legal framework for us to give them meaningful feedback about, are we comfortable with the structure that you're proposing?
Also, just, I didn't realize it, it's great, it's interesting to hear that there's gonna be a comparable fund, but that sort of takes me back to our previous discussion, so. Is EDC planning on procuring 2 different fund administrators for a very similar process, because it feels like. That's a duplicative cost, and really, should there be one fund administrator again, or that's the idea of should EDC set up a tiny little. Like side entity that maybe gets through some of the constraints EDC as an organization has and hires like 3 staff, you know, to manage both these funds in perpetuity, you know, since it's gonna be. Otherwise, it feels like duplicative. Why are we paying for a Manhattan fund administrator and a Brooklyn fund administrator?
Yeah, a lot of that decision was about trying to make sure that the entity is in the neighborhood, so that.
And independent of the EDC, that's.
Yeah, but also like, at least if there is gonna be an administrator, it's going back to the neighborhood. But.
Yeah, I understand, I appreciate that instinct, but I will say you've set up the cab idea pretty well, I mean, if the advisory committee is.
But we can think about whether or not we think there should be one administrator for both funds. I mean, and sorry if I'm talking over people, it's a little hard to tell with the back and forth not being there. But I think the intent to have 2 separate administrators for the various funds is exactly what Allison said, is that typically these are organizations that are really entrenched in the particular communities, and therefore have a real understanding concerning the various, just players and needs, but we can.
They don't need to, if they're.
I understand that, I get your point,
Hold on, this is where I'm getting a little nervous and concerned that the administrator is gonna have more of a say in where this money goes than they don't have to be from the community.
But
They shouldn't
the
be.
administrator does not have a say, and they just wanna be.
They don't say.
Right, so it doesn't matter where they're from, where they're from, and hold on, there should be one administrator for both. And on Friday, they pick up the file that says Brooklyn and work on it, and on Monday, they pick up the file that says CB4 and work on it.
This is very.
Wait, come on, to double the cost makes absolutely no sense.
This is very nitty gritty stuff. This is.
We're not
this is a
married
large
to-
amount- This is a large amount of money that's coming from two sets of terminals. It has to be administered. It doesn't matter in my mind whether it's administered directly out of the funds that we raise through a fund administrator or within Eric Botcher's office or within EDC's office. Somebody's gotta pay for the administration of these funds. And what we're talking about is the nitty gritty of who's gonna do it. What we really need, I think, to be focusing on, and I don't mind paying some money out of these funds for a fund administrator. We need to be talking about, as we started to, what are these funds for? Where are they gonna go? Who's gonna be making the decisions? Do we approve of this structure, whether the administrator is or is not within EDC or a separate person who is responsible to CDC, I presume? I mean, the boss is gonna be CDC. They do need to, we're forgetting that the funds need to be administered somehow,
Yeah, no,
by
someone. Well, and that's fine, you know, I'm just reacting as part of the process, knowing that there's 2 exactly similar funds, it just. And like, I appreciate that, I think you guys put a lot of thought into this and trying to go the extra mile.
Yeah,
Trying to
like,
create separation, and
definitely.
community integration, all
With the
this.
community and, yeah.
It may be a little too much, like maybe you didn't need to, because to Leslie's point, I agree with her. It doesn't really matter if the fund administrators in the community, if they're really functioning as essentially a project manager and brand disperser, right?
I don't know if Brooklyn feels the same, but we'll think about it. You know, we don't know whether or not the community in Brooklyn feels the same as you all do concerning that administration.
Well,
Well, Brooklyn, we don't.
like, if the fee is ultimately a percent of costs, if there is not cost savings, then I think the question is sort of moot, but if there is.
Yeah.
great.
That's because it's 2%.
Can you give an example of what a funded, like, a type of, like, an actual organization that would be a funded administrator? And what your criteria is for determining whether or not an organization has the ability to be a fund administrator? Because we're saying fund administrator, but does anyone know who a fund administrator would be, or an example?
Do you want me to take that? Yeah, so I think it's a public procurement process, so I want to be careful about like specific organizations, but we are and I guess not to launch anything yet, we are thinking of a nonprofit or community development financial institution, somebody who has fund management experience of sorts, somebody who does micro lending, that kind of thing. Organizations that have done, like here in Hell's Kitchen, Hudson Gill runs the Westside Community Fund. They're an organization that might be able to do something like this. Thinking Hudson Yards Hell's Kitchen Alliance may potentially be able to do something like this. They probably have the capacity. In Brooklyn, that could potentially be the development committee. There are several nonprofits right across the city that are definitely poised to be able to do it.
So it would be a non, it would be a non.
Well, when we were thinking this community oriented sort of sense, yes, that would be most likely the case. We would prefer that over somebody like a bank or you know what I mean. That would be, or credit union, I guess, would actually be a more apt.
You're not thinking of hiring an individual, you're thinking of hiring an organization.
As a fund administrator, yes, we would hire an institution.
Yeah. And therefore, it doesn't matter whether there are two organizations that are hired to do this piece, Brooklyn piece, Manhattan piece, or one organization. That's not an issue. I mean,
It is if it's double the cost.
It will,
But the point is
during
that
more,
a
it would be
person
more money.
in their
I
time
mean, I think,
on this funded
I don't think
money.
it makes sense to tie the two funds together, especially if there's different things, and again, it's a lot of money, so is it really that crazy to have two separate fund administrators, cause they're in two different boroughs? And I wouldn't want the fund administrator to be focused on, you know, stuff happening in another place and not be able to do stuff with
It's like
us.
a lawyer, he has one case one day and he has another case.
No, it's a nonprofit organization.
No,
I'm managing other stuff, but that's what they're saying the fund administrator would be. The fund administrator would be a nonprofit organization that does this type of stuff.
Which I don't know.
We might be talking about neither here nor there, right? Like, I think an administrator is going to charge more if they're overseeing two funds versus one. Two firms might charge the same. I mean, I think it's something that we can go back and think about, but I really think that the monetary difference is not particularly going to be that great, whether it's one overseeing Manhattan and one overseeing Brooklyn, or whether it's one overseeing both. They're going to raise their fee to cover the administration that they need to do to cover the work.
There's a procurement path that we can do that we've done before, where we can explore this agreement, we can take this back later and really pin it out, and discuss whatever, but there are paths to, like, in the RFP process, put out workstream 1 is going to be this community fund, workstream 2 is this community fund. Whatever we get, whatever proposals we receive can be for both work streams or for one work stream. And so there are paths that we can do.
Correct. Good point, Preston. Exactly, yeah.
And did you guys do some sort of cost comparison of like the in-house or not in-house? Cause I know you guys don't want to do pure in-house, but if there was a viable legal alternative to that versus the procuring external fund, I've just seen how these things go. Like it is inefficient to hire a new entity to do something. So I'm just curious if you guys did some sort of like benefit cost analysis on this.
We did trade off, but mostly it was about our internal management versus the fund administrator.
Yeah.
So
I will say, we started with staffing it.
You know, there's a question of whether
Pass.
that's the buck. Yeah. Which I think is right. I think that's
Yeah,
what's a
but again, I would say it's more about like, how do we wanna start?
Yeah.
Because if that's really not working and folks aren't happy, then it's like, do something different.
That's right.
Please, you see this.
Yeah.
there's a question of whether fund administrator is a full-time job. You know, organizations like the New York Public Library or the Department of Education have capital planning departments. And their project managers work one day on a project in Staten Island and the next on a project in Manhattan. And I think there's a certain economy of shared expertise too, so.
But we're talking about much smaller bucks here.
Right, but still, you know, can you actually hire a part-time fund administrator? Or does it make more sense to consolidate those, so it's more like a full-time job that includes both boards?
Well, it seems to me that
Well, I think what Preston was outlining is there are organizations who might have the capacity for this, and this would not be their own work. They're doing fund administration for a number of different organizations.
Yes.
Or possibly.
it seems to me that this nitty gritty is stuff that needs to be deliberated, not around a table like this, but a proposal from you folks to us about what you think would be the best way to do it. You know the variables. That's what we're talking about. One or two people, individuals, an organization, two organizations. That's not something we can decide around.
I mean, that's what we do with procurement process.
Yeah.
I think we don't know the plethora of entities that are willing to come to the table with this, so that's why we do procurement process. But I think the decision point here is more about whether we're comfortable with the fund administrator. I think that would be helpful.
I think what I'm trying to say is I would be more comfortable just having this piggyback off of the participatory budget process versus us starting a fund administrator process. But that is just me because I just want the community to weigh in on this and not, we are the community, I totally get that. I just think that we're gonna have, overhead that we're doing this and then just this additional process where we have already a built-in process that solicits feedback from the community.
I think it's the
Our
question
community,
that, sorry, just a second,
Yeah.
I think when we talk about participatory process, possibly we could do that process at
Yes,
this
and that-
point here.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think
okay.
What we're talking
Okay.
about right now is just the EDC,
the actual.
procurement of a fund administrator, who then could piggyback off that process, but the fund administrator is more of the project manager.
Or the middleman.
Yeah.
We just can't write a check. to
Oh,
Right.
oh.
And the same
I
thing
see.
with like,
Yeah, I
the
see.
council member's office can't take this money and give it to someone.
We can't give $1 million to Botcher. I mean, legally.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, let's be clear. And so,
Would it
and
like an IDA type creation do that? I mean, that's sort of the alternative board member, that's what I was interested in. What did you guys find when you simply looked into that?
So maybe we can, the next time we talk a little bit about that research, we've definitely done it, if that's helpful.
It's not too much work, I assume you've already looked at it.
Yeah.
You could put it out there, they got it.
That's right.
Because also at the end of the
That's
day,
not
like,
clear yet.
UC is still gonna oversee the fund administrator, so
Yeah.
I'm not
Sure.
sure it's really solving, like, if anyone's concerned about the EDC involvement, I don't think this really solves EDC involvement, so I've been rather than have the most streamlined, low cost, efficient option, particularly since we're talking about this
Yeah, and also, this is the CAB, which is the Community Advisory Board, is comprised of the council member, the community board, and another community. What does the EDC have to do with the decision making on where it goes?
It's more, it's not, I wouldn't say it's like us deciding necessarily, it's more that like we are at the table with you guys. So, and we do have a role in this whole process, I'm thinking of like other advisory boards, I don't know about a fund advisory board or like the Port Authority that, has a seat in addition to other community seats or something like that. This was something that happened in Queens. So it's more of like based on the other advisory boards. This is, I think.
And the only reason why I ask that is, I know this is at the very early stages when you guys had I think we were offline and literally but offline as far as, what could this be used for? And I remember something came up with like training flag people on this, and then there was another one in art, and I was like, whoa, is this like an EDC fund or is it a community fund? And we just, I think at the table wanna be very clear that this is like for the community, and we understand workforce development, and we keep hearing those phrases, which is definitely EDC, I get it, it's an EDC thing, workforce development. And not that, I don't think anyone's against workforce development, anything like that, but as far as priorities that the council member identifies along with the community board would take priority in these meetings, and I think that has to be flushed out as we go, but just to understand.
see, that's the point of having the fund administrator, right? I mean, is to make sure that they have the capacity and the ability to run the community advisory board so that all of those answers can be fleshed out as to what the interests are. I think EDC needs to be there because legally they're an entity that's holding this money. And so they need to make sure that they're aware, that they're part of the conversation, that they can legally distribute it for whatever the priorities are, and they understand the regulations. But the point of having the community advisory board is exactly what you just said, to make sure that the priorities are what the community wishes it to be, not what EDC's priorities are. Although workforce development might be a community priority. I mean, we don't know right now, but.
Yeah.
And we're working on what the legal ways of spending the money are. To be more clear on what is allowed and what is not allowed.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the legal distinction as to can you supplement the sanitation group is, you know, and is there ways to provide money out to, like, let's say the fire department outside the FDNY Foundation as an example. I don't know. That's what we're having our lawyer research. It came up yesterday and she's going to diligence that for the conversation to find out.
So I'm thinking in terms of summarizing this conversation. I have two questions in my mind that are not answered and won't be answered tonight that we need answers to. What can we spend the money on? And how will the money be administered? Those are the two questions that we've been talking about all night. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think if you take, sorry, I think that's a little bit too much in the weeds at this point, because what we're talking about from my perspective is an opportunity to have unencumbered funds.
Yes.
Right, that we have a chance to help them set this up in a way that all of that red tape disappears. And I think what we're spending the money on, whether we can go parks or whether it's private organization or a 501c4, is like an executive committee function for the CAB, like it's this moves further down the process.
I think you're exactly right. I think that the two questions that I raised have on top of it, how encumbered are they going to be? And your version of it is the best, that they are unencumbered. But I'm hearing contracting legal requirements and set criteria, that language that was used earlier. I want it to be unencumbered too. Let's see how close we can get to that. And that's information that has to.
So I think in our letter, obviously, we all have the same goal of unencumbered funds. Like, we don't want to be handcuffed in any avenue that this particular, this community, this board will, in next year, the year after, if they say we want to do this, we want to make sure it's set up that they can do that if they want, right? And I think that's what we're getting at with our letter, that we want to make sure, you know, this isn't, not that we want to do curb cuts, but if they do in 5 years, if there's some sort of need, that this is set up, language is set up, legal is set up, that they could, if they want, in some way. I don't know how, maybe it wouldn't go right to the agency, but in some way they could do it. And I think that would be that's like the big overall, I think summary of the letter would be, this is what we're thinking, we know, we want to be able to do this, can you please look into this, and this? We can definitely go into like small little things about the fund administrator and list of concerns we have. We will list concerns about preps, you know, questions that we can also list as well. But I don't, and I agree with the rest of the table, I think, but we don't want to get into the weeds of, we want to fund this. We don't care what we want to fund right now. We just want to be able to fund it if we want.
Unencumbered.
Unencumbered. I'll use that word.
I guess one last thing, when we talked about this with the cruise lines, the way we've talked about it is that this is an opportunity to fund, to like immediately have a positive impact in the communities that is immediately surrounding the terminal. And they're excited by that.
Yeah.
So,
right.
Like, the intention there was to make sure that we're merging.
Yeah. Are you saying sorry to Chelsea? Right.
I wasn't, I don't know. You know, was about things, the original was like, there's things that to mitigate some of the impacts of the cruise terminal being right there, how can we help mitigate that?
Which was to Katie's way in the environment, the immediate environment, which was our earlier.
That was a part of the conversation that occurred before we talked about funding, where we talked about the master plan to make the terminals friendly.
Yeah, well, we can pull some, that language has been in letters we've had.
Yeah,
I mean, and we can pull some of that as well, just to reiterate and just to some, you know, kind of pull it full circle.
So say what the letter is and we'll vote on.
Someone should. I think the letter is, I mean, listen, this is an embarrassment of riches, right? Let's get down to it. This is amazing. This is like kudos to you guys for kind of getting this done finally and putting it together. I mean, this is gonna be a big windfall, as I said, for our community and our community board, and it's gonna be an embarrassment of riches of what we should do. So I think that's the first part of it, obviously. And I think, and anyone can chime in or send me notes as we go along. Unless Sarah, you wanna write the letter?
I'll help you.
Okay.
We can go right.
that, that we really want the, I don't wanna say loosely, but we want the most avenues that we can to be able down the road to use this money, and then we can list what those possibilities would be. We would also touch upon the fund manager, and we want that done in the most, financially
Cost-effective.
way, that we could, and that we're not necessarily, doesn't have to be necessarily someone with ties to the community, that's, I mean, that's a nice little flower, you know, it's nice and everything, but we just want someone who's responsible and, you know, responsive, and that, I think that would be the letter. I think we've written about the community fund before, and I can also, or whoever writes can draw from those letters, which I think would be good as well.
I'm
Unless-
willing to help you write it.
What?
I am willing to help you.
Okay, a lot of it, you.
Will you help?
I'm gonna jump off. I have to jump off, but I just want to thank you all.
Thank you so much. Janine or Quentin, do you wanna add anything at the end here or no, as far as from the council member's office?
No, just good listening.
Janine, is there anyone from the public?
No, there's no hands up.
Okay, so do we have a motion on that letter?
Second.
All for? Anyone against? Present not eligible? What's the other one? Abstentions. Thank you. Okay, I think that's it. That's it. I mean, we'll get it, we'll synthesize what we talked about.
Unencumbered, wide choice of projects administered. That's the letter.
Well, correct.
Oh, and praise for.
Yeah, definitely. Our next item, if anyone has any old business, new business, anyone wanna bring up anything, this is the time. New members, we are so happy you're on board. I hope you liked your first meeting.
You actually caught two hotly discussed conversations.
Yeah, do we?
Congratulations, you really stepped it all into it. Sorry about that.
And you have a motion to adjourn? Berta?
So moved.
Thank you. Okay, guys.
Thank you, everybody. We won't see you till September.
I mean.
Full board.
Oh, full board. All right.
Of course.